Welcome to the July 11th meeting of the Planning Board. First, we'll take a roll call to introduce board members and staff. Chris.
Here.
Josh.
Here.
Kate.
Here.
Phil.
I'm here.
And I am here as well. Okay. My comments. The meeting is recorded by Westwood Media Center and broadcast live on local cable television Comcast Channel 12 and Verizon Channel 42. Meetings are also live on the Westwood Media Center's YouTube channel. If you're interested in joining the meeting via Zoom, you can find the login directions in the Planning Board meeting notice that is posted to the calendar section of the town's webpage at https://www.townhall.westwood.ma.us/. We will begin the meeting with only the board members and staff unmuted and on video. As the chair recognizes individuals to speak, we will unmute them. Board members may choose to mute themselves when they are not speaking in order to minimize background noise. For applications, the chair will first invite the applicants to address the board and give a presentation summarizing what is being requested. Board members received the application materials prior to the meeting and will have reviewed them. Board members may ask questions during and following the presentation. Staff and outside experts will provide comments to the board. If the issue includes a public hearing, the board will then proceed to the public comment portion of the public hearing and will restate the instructions. In this remote meeting format, residents and guests may participate in several ways. Attendees should raise their hand and wait to be unmuted and recognized to speak over the Zoom meeting application or from a telephone dial-up. We will be able to hear you, but not see you. Additionally, comments may be submitted by email or regular mail prior to the meeting. When we come to that part of the meeting, I will remind everyone of the process. Following the public comment portion, the board will deliberate and make a decision or continue the hearing to a specific future date. All remote meetings require that votes be taken by roll call. When a motion and a second has been made, the chair will ask if there is any further discussion before proceeding to a roll call vote and then restate the results of the vote. Okay, Elijah, do we have any changes to our agenda this evening?
There have been a few updates since Friday for the 190 Washington Street. So I would suggest that the board review or listen to the discussion, but my suggestion still stands in terms of how to kind of move forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so with that, let us begin the continuation of the public hearing for 190 Washington Street. Do we have people representing the applicants or the folks who would like to make a presentation? Are they here?
I just promoted Peter, the attorney.
Oh, it's working. Good evening. I usually do this on my laptop, which decided to go on vacation, I think, tonight. So I whipped this together quickly. So hopefully this works. I look pretty big on there. Anyway, good evening. For the record, I'm Peter Zaka, attorney with offices in Dedham, representing Sky Realty Management, Inc. Also here, I believe you'll see Mike Barsamian, who is the principal of the LLC. Joseph Betancourt.
I just promoted Joseph. Mike, if you can raise your hand.
Yeah, Mike sometimes has trouble getting on the screen. He's what he should be on. Paul Machanda. See Paul?
Promoting him right now.
He's with the project engineers. I don't know if did Ken Cram join us this evening?
Yes.
I don't know if I missed anybody. Let's see. I think that's going to be it. Great. Okay. So since, if I may, since our last meeting, in fact, prior to the last meeting, we had just received, I believe, excuse me, the peer review report from PSC, and Mr. Houston. It had, I believe, 63 comments in it. Since that time, we had responded to the comments and actually got, and I want to thank him for his timeliness in doing this. He moved it pretty quickly. We did get a response in response to our response to his comments, where there appeared to be 6, maybe 7, what were, I'll use the word, outstanding comments. We did reply to those comments, and earlier today, we received another response from Mr. Houston, where it appears that we have resolved the issues that we're going to be able to resolve with the peer reviewer. There are a couple of issues that we probably have to have a further discussion with the planning board to be able to hopefully bring to closure. So I don't intend to go through all 63. Many of them were, excuse me, in fact, a considerable amount of them were requesting the applicant to add comments or notes to the plan sets. So in the cases where that was requested, we agreed in every instance to do so. So I'm just going to highlight some of the bigger ones, and then after that, if I could, probably have somebody bring up the new site plan so we can walk you through it. So one of the issues that had come up was your bylaw requires 20 trees 27 foot off center. I believe it is 27 foot on center. But given the overhead wires and the width of our landscape islands and landscape beds, our landscaper has basically said we're basically precluded from the type of trees. As you recall, and you'll see in a second, we do have significant new landscaping on the site, but to put trees that would then end up going into the wires, as well as he believes they wouldn't survive, given the ball of the tree would be as big as the some of the beds or some of the landscape islands. So we had requested a waiver of that condition. I don't think that's new. It's the same site plan. We didn't alter it. One of the things that we did change was just specifying, I think it was on the red maple, what the appropriate caliper would be. So we've agreed, to put the caliper as appropriate. More importantly, on the landscaping plan, it's my understanding now we have all native plantings. So anything that wasn't native has been changed. Again, he asked for detail on the wood fence, which he did, and then he did ask us to remove one of the horizontal elements so it didn't turn into like a ladder where someone could actually climb over it. So we had done that. We've now shown on the revised, and you'll see on the revised architectural, where the trash and recycling area is going. One of the issues that I think is still somewhat open that we want to discuss with the board is the lighting on this site. And I just hold off, and we'll hold off and go into that in a second. We modified everything, so now we only have vertical granite curbing. We've put the appropriate bicycle racks in and provided the details to show that they comply with your rules and regulations. Trying to think again, just skipping things where it said add to the plan. Oh, on the exterior mechanical equipment, we showed where that is going to be behind the building, which you'll see in a second. And and we agreed to the noise. He asked that the fencing be along that be raised to 6 feet, which again we agreed to and is shown on the plan. One of the requests that he did make was that we soundproof that. We don't believe that these are mini splits is what they're putting in, and so what we have in our responses is that there would be a post-construction noise monitoring, and if in fact that results in the fact that it does need that, soundproofing within that fence area, then it would be added at that time. But we've agreed to a post monitoring, noise monitoring evaluation at that time. We provided, he asked for quantity and type of earth material. We've provided that. We've added notes about when earth movement could take place. We've now shown, we've revised the architectural plans to actually reflect the height of the building. As I indicated, we now show the waste and recycling dumpsters on that. On the plans, let's see, trying to look for some of the biggies. He asked for an additional test pit towards the west end for the infiltration structure. And we've already performed that. So we agreed to it and we've already done the testing on that. And in our revised stormwater report, that is included in that, which he has seen. We revised and raised the top of the elevation as he had requested. He wanted to modify the treatment train to provide for 44% TSS removal, and that has been done. And again, that's in the revised stormwater report as well. We provided him the DEP stormwater checklist that was requested. Again, I'm just skipping the ones where anything he asked for, and again, I don't mean to repeat myself, but anything that was asked to be added as a note to the plans has been added, and Mr. Houston has confirmed that. We provided the stormwater operation and maintenance plan that was requested. Originally, we had, and the board had talked about this last time, if you remember the site plan, we were going to put, we provided stop signs, but we had a discussion about the do not enter signs when you entered the site so that people wouldn't take a right down the one way. We originally revised the plan to show one. Mr. Houston came back and again recommended two, so we revised the plan again and we now show the two do not enter signs. We put all the pavement arrows and legends on that he's requested. We showed the first floor, the floor elevations that he requested, the spot grade that was requested. He did ask for requested a fire flow, and we're going to have that. We've requested that be added as a condition. Couldn't do the fire flow after when we're doing construction. We added the snow storage areas as requested. He asked for, we changed the parking area pavement detail. I think we had 2 inches. That's now been changed to 3 inches per his request and in accordance with your rules and regulations. We provided a saw cut line that he requested. I'm skipping what I consider notes to the plan. And on the traffic impact, and we had gone over this, you may remember with the board, I had Mr. Cram made his presentation last time, and we provided that additional material to Mr. Houston. He then asked for further clarification on the site distances, which we did provide. So if, I don't know, Joe, are you able, if somebody could bring up the, with your permission, if I could have either Joe or somebody else bring up the new site plan or the new plans, and we can run through those quickly.
That would be great.
So Joe, why don't you walk us through that if you would, please? And you may be on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Let me just set up the screen here. to full screen. Okay, everyone able to see the screen?
Yes.
Great, okay, thank you. Thank you, Attorney Zaka. Yeah, so I'll run through this quickly and highlight some of the items that Attorney Zaka just mentioned as well. Some of this you've already seen, so I'll kind of go through it quickly and I'll just highlight the new items that we have responded to. So we talked about the square footage calculation last time, so I won't go through that. This is an updated site/floor plan. So here we've updated the note to call out for the 6-foot tall screen at the exterior service area that you see highlighted here. So there are 2 trash bins. They're on rubber wheels. So they're actually lightweight. So the truck pulls up, the trash gets thrown in, and they get wheeled back. The 2 mechanical units are shown in this location, as mentioned earlier. So that's the mechanical area with gate access in this location. A couple of things that came up also was one was the wheelchair access. I think there was a comment at one point about sort of the circuitous route that we were showing at that time. We have since revised that, so it's more of a direct line from the ADA space to the front door and to elevation 129.2. We're also showing the bike racks, which was a comment that was asked for earlier. So that's our sort of basic updated floor plan with the site plan notes. As Attorney Zaka mentioned, one of the issues that may still be outstanding is the lighting. So just a little sort of background on the lighting. So these 2 light fixtures, so this gooseneck fixture here, which is it's the placer LED, that's for signage lighting. So the idea is that those will shine down, very similar to what you might see in downtown. And you can see we're just locating those 3 kind of above the entry door to the salon. So again, that shines down. The second fixture, which is a wall-mounted wall sconce, also shines down. These, you can see the dots here in green are more of sort of lighting for the back for safety. And I think really the fixture in question is this one, which is it's a landscape uplighting, which is sort of contradictory to the dark sky. But our thought was these are all dimmable, and if the thought is that we'd like to try to wash the stone with very soft light and sort of conceal most of these fixtures within the landscape beds. But I think this is the lighting fixture that is in question. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or sort of comments on the 3 light fixtures. We are certainly very flexible if the board feels that this is just something that you would prefer that we not do. We're certainly willing to remove this from our plan and possibly use something like this, which is it's a wall washer and it just emits the light downward and just wash the stone in a different way.
Yes. So I would just suggest to the chair, perhaps having to keep with like the dark sky lighting to go with the one that kind of washes down on the wall.
Thank you.
And we'll omit this the uplighting.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with that suggestion. We can talk about that a bit more when we get to board comments as well. Thank you. Do you happen to have, and Joseph, if you're not the right person to present, please let me know, but I'd love to see the updated landscape plans and just go over that briefly if we could.
Yeah, I actually don't have the updated plan in my PDF. I have the 3D views, but I think you saw them quickly last time. If you want to see those again, maybe I can go through those.
I was interested in the species list specifically. So I don't know, excuse me, I don't know if that's something that someone has on hand that we could go over.
Let me take a look.
Yeah, to Ellen's point, it looks like both landscaping plans are duplicates from a while ago.
We haven't received anything since the one that was presented last time.
Thanks, Amanda.
So there should be a landscape plan, Elijah, that was revised through July 10th.
July 10th. Was it uploaded to the permit?
Yes,
Opened
it
up.
was done. It was attached to the response to the peer review. And then I separately emailed that. Let me see if I can. I'm trying to see if I can find it. I apologize.
I'm not seeing anything on my end. Let's see.
You don't see that?
No, is there anything else that the board, maybe we can circle back to this while we find the landscape plan?
Yeah, that's fine by me. Were there any other presentations, Mr. Zaka, that you or your crew wanted to make before I open it up to questions?
No, so we, again, just to be clear, so we responded, as I say, twice, once on June 29th. I just want to see what the board has, all of which have been uploaded. And then we responded, then we received another response on the 8th, and we responded just earlier today to the remaining remaining 6 or 7. I think there were more clarification issues. The biggest one being the dark sky on the thing. So, is this the plan dated through the through the 10th? I can't see. It's my margin is blocked by everybody's face.
Yeah, can we see the date on this?
It's the same planting list as the others.
It says it's updated 7/10/23.
That's the one. Yes.
Could you zoom in a little bit, Nora, on the plant list, please? Thank you. Yeah, I still see, I think.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Sorry, just give me a second. Disappeared.
No worries.
I've got it up if you want me to share.
Go ahead.
Was there one on there that was offensive?
Offensive is a strong word for me, but I believe
not native. Non-native.
Correct. While a Colorado blue spruce is native to the United States, as the name implies, it is not a New England native. So I personally would not really, that would not be my first choice of evergreen. And I think I pointed out the boule de neige rhododendron. From what I understand, that is also not a native plant. I believe it's a European, not a New England. It may be a cultivated plant in the United States, but I still would prefer truly native plants. And I'd have to go back and check a couple of these. Eastern redbud, I believe, is fine. Red maple is great. Red twig dogwood, I don't know that tree very well. So I just need to cross-check these a little bit. But again, Delaware Valley white azalea, I would have to look at that and
Okay.
I guess New England native or, East Coast native is good, but yeah, definitely other parts of the country are not my first choice. I don't know how other board members feel, but it's better than say an Asian or European tree, but I think there are other choices that would be even more native.
Yeah, I don't think the applicant is, entrenched in the particular. So if there's a suggestion, I'm sure the applicant will adopt it.
Excellent. Thank you. So usually we would ask the peer reviewer to kind of weigh in. I'm sorry, we kind of headed into board comments a little bit, but before we go on to more board comments, I just want to touch base with Mr. Houston. If you have anything you'd like to share or add, that would be wonderful.
Well, I think Attorney Zaka has pretty much summarized the status of our reviews. We've been going back and forth as recently as today. We did issue a final report today. I presume the board members haven't had the opportunity to review that, but as of our prior peer review, we had like 6 or 7 outstanding items. They've all been resolved except for the lighting issue that we've discussed. There are 4 comments that the applicant has requested waiver of strict compliance. And there are 4 more comments that the applicant has requested that they be included as conditions of approval. So we can go through those, or we can just wait till the board members have had the chance to read the report.
Elijah, do you have a recommendation? Should we start going down that path of discussing, or should we defer?
I would defer. I think it would be best to review everything and then hopefully we can make sure we come to a decision one way or the other at the next meeting.
Sounds reasonable. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Houston. So I guess at this point, I would open it up to board comments, questions. Kate.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to the applicant for the reworking the handicap parking and the bike rack. So I look forward to seeing the full proposal.
Thank you, Kate. Any other questions or comments from board members? Chris, yes.
Yeah, you had mentioned when you were talking about that other light that you were considering that it was dimmable, and then the recommendation for the wall wash unit be used. Is that also dimmable?
Yes, so all 3, well, the 2 light fixtures that we're proposing are both dimmable, and I'm going to try to get a 3500 color temperature on both of those as well.
So is that a situation where you can set it and then leave it and no one can adjust it accidentally?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so the controls will be set up so that we can do that. We'll sort of get it to the right light level, and then we'll just leave it.
Okay. And I was just gonna I think it was Kate and I were talking about the handicap parking last time. So I also appreciate the attention paid to solving that. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Chris. Phil.
Hi, Mr. Houston, could you comment on the sound absorbing proposal that they are suggesting and give us a little bit more on your reviews? And then my second question is just going to be the traffic status. I'd like, if possible, for you to expand on that.
I'd be pleased to address both of those items. With respect to the noise, we don't have the specifications on the equipment that they're proposing to install. That'll come much later in the design process. My comment was twofold: to raise the height of the fence around the equipment to 6 feet, which they have done, which means the equipment will be well below the top of the fence. So that'll provide some shielding. I also suggested that they put sound absorbing materials on the inside of the fence, simply because all the mechanical equipment faces the adjacent residential properties. How noisy is it going to be? I don't know. As I say, we don't have a spec on the equipment. It was just sort of an attempt to be careful and ensure that the noise levels were within regulation. Attorney Zaka's response, and I also thought that was reasonable. They have agreed to a post-construction noise monitoring. And if at that time the equipment turns out to be noisy, they can always at that point retrofit the inside of the fence with the sound absorbing materials. So I think that approach is reasonable. The traffic we discussed.
Mr. Houston, just before we get to the traffic, just which I want to follow up on, what do you consider, especially because of the adjacent properties and whatnot, the time and evening hours may be differing. What would be the target for what your thoughts are on noisy versus not noisy?
Well, there's a number of standards, both federal and state, et cetera. I would think somewhere in the range of 45 dBA would be desirable in a residential area. What you have to consider in this site, though, is that you probably have traffic noise from Washington Street that also impacts those residential properties. So I think the question is maybe not the total sound levels, but what portion of the future sound levels are contributed by that mechanical equipment. I think the statements that have been made is these are split units, which are reasonably quiet. I presume there are also air conditioning condensers outside. You know, that they shouldn't be any louder than the air conditioning condensers that you have in residential properties. So, you know, it's not ideal to have the equipment on that side of the building, but I can see why it's there. I think the fence around it will provide some acoustical buffering. And if we need to do more, we can always do more.
Would it make sense to have like a control pre-construction so we have a sense as to what the traffic is, and then post-construction?
Given the nature of the site, yes, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay. If you could go on just to the traffic issue, I just would love to have your views on that.
Sure. We discussed this, I believe, at the last meeting, and the board asked if I would find a full-blown traffic study helpful in evaluating the benefits and impacts of the project. I said no, because of the relatively low traffic volumes that are going to be generated here. You know, they're certainly very minor in comparison to the traffic volumes on Washington Street. We know without studying it that the Washington Street traffic is not going to be delayed. We know that vehicles turning out of the site, leaving the site, particularly those vehicles that are turning left, will be substantially delayed simply because of the traffic volume that's on Washington Street. So we know that without studying it. If we studied it, we would quantify the delay, but that information I don't think is terribly useful to the board because fundamentally you can't change it. There's no way that you could impact the delay. That's a function of the traffic volume on Washington Street and the number of vehicles leaving this site. So you would have numbers, you'd quantify it, but I don't know that the quantification of the delay would be critical to the board's decision.
And that's consistent from the prior meeting from?
Yes, I believe it is, yes.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Any other questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, as this is a public hearing, at this point, I'd like to open it up to public comment. If people would like to participate, you can either raise your virtual hand, at which point we will admit you, enable you to talk, or you can type in your comments in the Q&A. Just please remember to include your name and address for the record. Thank you. I am not seeing any hands raised, nor am I seeing any entries in the Q&A. So given that it seems like there are some outstanding issues and some new materials that we would need to review, I believe we would take a motion for continuance.
I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for environmental impact and design review EIDR approval for 190 Washington Street as described in the application, therefore submitted to the planning board and filed in the office of the town clerk on May 11th, 2023 to Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom, where a Zoom link and associated call-in numbers will be provided on the town's calendar on the homepage at https://www.townhall.westwood.ma.us/.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you very much. And
Thank you. If it would be appropriate, if I could, after you review the material, especially something like the planting list, if it's appropriate, the board through the planning office, through Elijah, et cetera, if there are, specific, instead of waiting till the next meeting and saying, here are the species, because they say, I think the applicant, at least I found in terms of him responding to at least the peer review, any other questions that the board has had, has been more than willing to agree to what has been requested. So unless it's, somebody comes up with something outrageous, which I don't anticipate, I think if we get those in advance, we can turn it around as quickly as possible so that hopefully at the next meeting, we could bring this to some closure.
I'm amenable to that unless anyone, either board members or staff, has a concern. I think that's a wonderful idea.
I think you've been very responsive and the applicant has been. I would second that. I think it's also appropriate.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry, I muted myself. Our next, I'm talking and no one can hear me. Our next agenda item is 266 to 298 Washington Street. And this would be a new public hearing. So I will start by reading the public hearing legal notice. The Westwood Planning Board will hold a remote public hearing on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom regarding an application filed by Brian Bonina of Sinorama on behalf of Petruzziello Properties LLC, requesting a modification of the Flexible Multiple Use Overlay District, FMUOD, special permit that was issued by the Planning Board on April 10th, 2018. pursuant to sections 9.5 and 10.3 of the Westwood zoning bylaw to permit the installation of 2 freestanding signs on or in front of the property at 266 to 298 Washington Street, Westwood, Mass. 02090. The application number PB-23-27 proposes the installation of 1 pylon sign in a landscape area on Washington Street in front of Crown Cleaners, and the other sign in a landscaped area near the East Street entrance to the parking lot behind the Muffin House Cafe. The property is in the Local Business B LLB zoning district and within the Flexible Multiple Use Overlay District 7, FMUOD 7, and Wireless Communications Overlay District, WCOD. Revised 6/16/23, land affected, assessors map 23, lots 187 and 189, property owner Petruzziello Properties LLC. All right, do we have folks representing the applicant that would like to present?
I believe we have Brian, just promoted him.
I'm here.
Welcome.
Hello. Yeah, so basically we're just proposing a double-sided pylon. I'm not sure the other sign that was mentioned out in front of Crown Cleaners, that is already there. But I'm proposing basically the rear sign behind the Muffin House Cafe at the rear entrance there. Which is basically a double-sided pylon. Just displaying all the business names that are in that plaza, since it's a more accessible to a point like rear entrance. That there is no sign at right now. And yeah, we were told to basically design the sign in somewhat resembling the building, so it kind of fit in around there. And other than that, yeah, does anybody have any questions?
I do initially. My understanding with the sign on East Street that, as you note, it's already there. There was no permitting or permission given for that sign. So I believe that's why you're asking for kind of, excuse me, retroactive relief on that. So my first question would be, how did that go about being installed without coming to the board first?
That was not handled by me. Otherwise, I'd have an answer for you. I thought that sign was permitted when I started this process, but then I found out a later point that it wasn't. But yeah, I was never, like I said, I was never under the understanding that it wasn't permitted. But yeah, I think maybe the last time the landlord may have told us that it was applied for when the building was built. I'm not sure. It was before my time of handling these things.
Understood. Nora or Elijah, do we have any other insights into that? It doesn't look like, I don't see anyone else from the applicant here that could address that. I'm just curious because that is, I don't want to say concerning, but of interest to me that, this was done not necessarily without going through the proper channels. So I just kind of like to understand that better if we have any other information on what happened there.
I couldn't give you any information on how it happened. I know the sign appeared one day, and from our research, I know there was no planning approval for it, and there does not appear to have been a building permit either. So I imagine whatever sign company fabricated that sign did so without a permit and installed it without a permit.
Thank you. Okay. Let me see. I guess I would open this up to board questions because I asked the most pressing question in my mind. I would open it up to board questions and comments about this application. Phil, I see your hand up.
Hi, I saw the note which also states there's no trustees, nor which strikes me as odd and not appropriate. Do you know if there's a trustee there has to be because typically the developer is the original trustee and then there's a successor trustee. So there has to be a trustee of some sort.
I believe the developer is the trustee until new trustees are appointed from the home ownership members. And
Okay.
it sounds like they just simply have not had that meeting to appoint representatives for the trustees. So if, until that's done, I imagine that the overall developer is the sole trustee.
Remains as trustee until there is that, but that sounds like they haven't had an annual meeting to elect a new trustee. Is that?
I don't believe they have, and I'm not surprised because many of the units were sold in the last 3 months. So I'm
Right.
not surprised that they haven't yet had an annual meeting.
I guess, to me, the trustees' views is, even though it is the original, would be an issue that I would be interested in hearing. So that's just my comment.
Thank you, Phil. Kate, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I am curious why why this sign doesn't look like the other sign at all. The blue is striking, but doesn't necessarily feel like terribly Islington to me. I was just curious.
Yeah, I know that they wanted the blue on this specifically because they wanted to try to match the awnings on that side of the building.
Mm.
I believe the other sign is, I think the awnings over there are black that they have, if I remember correctly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this building, I don't think this side was finished. Yeah, I don't think this side, yeah, they didn't finish this side and want this side until now. So yeah, I'm assuming
Great.
if they had this side finished and whenever the other sign was done, they probably would have done it all both the same, because I know originally this started off as black and then they changed it to wanting it to be blue.
I will say it's a good looking sign.
Mhm.
I don't love it there, but nice job. It's a good, I don't want to tell you didn't do a good job. Nice job. It's a good looking sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Josh?
Are there any additional lighting fixtures associated with the sign that you're planning on? I don't see anything indicated in the plan.
No, not that I'm aware of. We don't handle the lighting portion. I just know it's a non-illuminated sign itself. And I wasn't aware of any, or there was no lighting mentioned to me. So as far as I know, there's no lighting proposed in the ground or anything like that.
So I guess sort of just speaking out loud, if the owner or the actual trustee currently is not available to discuss this, is that correct? Like, can we just push this to the next meeting where they feel like they can attend?
Yeah, as far as I was the only one representing it as of now. I wasn't aware that anybody else needed to attend.
I think
open
we
it to
we have
public
some
comment, but-
questions that, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh.
Yeah, I was just saying, open it to public comment to get everything up, but it feels disingenuous to have this conversation when we have concerns about signs being put up and without the actual owner or the trustees being present. So.
Yeah, I would echo that that concern and sentiment. I think we as a board have some questions that that you, sir, don't necessarily have the answers to, and also that, you know, there's as it is a public hearing, I think there are people who are going to want to ask questions that we should be able to provide at least some sort of answers to.
All right.
Elijah and or Nora, is that something that we could schedule for our next meeting?
I mean, I would suggest perhaps the September 12th meeting, just due to the length of the agenda for August 8th.
Would the applicant have any objection to that?
No.
Excellent. As it is a public hearing, I will open to public comment. I did notice that there were a couple of pieces of correspondence that had been submitted. Elijah, should those be read into the record? I'm not sure how that works.
I believe they should be read into the record. One of the comments does not have a name and address associated with it, so you cannot read that one. but you could read the one that does have a name and address.
Okay. And should that be myself that reads that, or staff? What is the appropriate way to proceed?
Either
with
is
that?
fine.
Okay. I certainly don't mind reading the comment. So I'll start with the one that I can read because it does have the complete information. And then I'll open it up to people in attendance. Were there any other, I'm sorry, before I move on, were there any other questions or comments from board members? Then I will read, this was dated July 8th, 2023, sent to Elijah and the members of the committee. Dear members of the committee, my husband John and I have lived in neighboring Norwood for most of our lives. Sorry. We moved to the beautiful steeple at Islington Village in August of 2022. We have a lovely community with wonderful neighbors, residents, and businesses. The unit owners, 18, have not had our meeting to elect trustees to speak on our behalf. With that said, we would like to view our personal comments. As to the sign on Washington Street, if the sign is not too high to obstruct traffic by the side driveway, we have no problem with it. We have significant concerns with the sign on East Street, both with the height and the location. It would be better placed on the other side at the entrance to the right as you turn in and not quite so high. I have attached pictures to show the better location. At certain times of the day, this is a very congested area, and putting it where it is proposed would block people's view when they are entering and leaving the parking lot that is in front of the steeple at Islington Condo Building. It is our front door. We are disappointed that meetings are still being conducted by Zoom. There should be an opportunity for those who prefer to appear in person. Please read our statement at the hearing, and we will be glad to answer any questions you have if there is not a glitch with the Zoom connection. Attachments, pictures of where the sign would be better placed and proposed placement. Thank you for listening to our suggestions. Respectfully submitted by Linda and John De Benedictis, steeple at Islington Village Residence, 298 Washington Street, Westwood, Mass. 02090, Unit 209. I hope I pronounced the names correctly. All right. At this point, I would like to open it up to public comment. If you would like to participate or share, please raise your hand and we will enable you to speak, or feel free to enter your comment into the Q&A, but please include your name and address. Looks like I see a couple of hands up. We'll start with Sam R.
Elijah, I think you need to authorize Sam to speak.
Let's see. Right. He should be rejoining.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Sam Rue, residing at 298 Washington Street here in Westwood. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you and good evening, members of the Planning Board and other participants for this public hearing. I've already submitted my written statement directly to the Planning Board, raising concerns regarding the planned installation of the sign displaying 12 separate businesses by East Street entrance parking lot. Since this has already been submitted directly to the board, I'll just highlight some of the key points for this public hearing segment. The proposed East Street sign poses a public safety concern primarily because of its height, location, and it fails to account for adequate stopping sight distance and hinders the visual flow of pedestrians and cars by the entrance of this parking lot. The proposed East Street sign, being 9 foot or close to 9 foot tall and 8 foot wide, and displaying 12 separate businesses, clearly blocks vehicle passengers exiting out of their vehicles after parking, and also exiting passengers from their vehicles won't have the same open visual field of view of vehicles entering that specific parking lot. This situation is compounded by children, elderly, and individuals with limited mobility, which is a common occurrence on any given day at this parking lot. Thus, the planned East Street sign is an obstruction and there is not enough aggregate stopping sight distance to account for these vehicles entering the East Street parking lot. Understandably, signs well placed may promote businesses, it can attract new customers, it increases tax revenue for this town, it enhances the aesthetic layout, charm of a neighborhood, things that this committee had envisioned when you guys had originally planned the Islington development. And lastly, it increases property value. So interests are clearly aligned, but safety should always be a priority, not subordinate to these interests. I respectfully ask the Planning Council to be prudent when reviewing the design, the placement of this specific proposed sign, as well as other potential signs around this complex, and include the appropriate stakeholders and engineers. I just want to make one final point, just kind of addressing Phil's inquiry regarding the installation of the trustees. It's my understanding that the meeting has been scheduled for August. And at that point, the agenda item is to appoint trustees. I will pause.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments.
We have one more. I'm going to promote Charlene and Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Charlene Satalongo. Jerry's not with me. I live at 298 Washington Street, unit 307 of the steeple at Islington condominiums. And I just want to reinforce what Sam and Linda and John had submitted. And as you know, a relatively new owner in the condos, we see the congestion in that parking lot. And the concern is the visibility for cars exiting and entering and pedestrians. So I don't want to belabor it, but just want to know that there, us as owners, and there are others who might have been able to join the Zoom meeting who are feeling the same way. We are slowly trying to organize all the owners, getting ready for our own first annual meeting in August to be able to vote for certain trustees. So I do thank you for listening to our comments and hope that these considerations been taken, because we do seriously think the congestion at that particular corner gets very challenging at times. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and sharing your comments. Were there any other people waiting to share public participation? I don't see any other hands or comments. I'll give it another minute in case there's anybody else that wanted to participate. I see no other public comment, but I do see two board members. Josh.
I was just wondering, Nora and Elijah, what would the sort of purview of the board be to request the non-conforming sign be removed before we take up the vote on the proposed signage?
The building commissioner could request that the sign be removed. I don't think that's something the planning board could do. The building commissioner would have to find that it's in violation of the zoning bylaw. It looks like Giorgio Petruzziello has joined.
Oh, yes.
Hand up, so maybe he can answer some questions.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry about that. I was trying to be a father, picking up kids at school, soccer in school, so at summer camp. So I understand there's a couple of questions that need to be addressed. about the signage. How can I help?
Thank you for joining us. The first question I had was, it sounds like the sign that is on, I believe it's the East Street sign that's, I'm sorry, the Washington Street sign that's already there.
Yep.
Just kind of appeared, and it didn't come before us, and it sounds like it didn't go through the building department either. So I'm just kind of curious what transpired there.
I am pretty sure all the signage that's not only on the building, but also as the one in front of the laundry crown cleaners, will all permitting by the building department.
Okay.
Is there a reason to believe why they were not?
I don't think we have a record of the freestanding sign being approved by the building department. And that I could be mistaken, and we just have not been able to find that. It might have been built in with some other sign that was approved, but it never went to the planning board for the planning board's approval. So if you have a development identification sign, that's only permitted under the FMUOD special permit, and that would require planning board approval. Your original special permit, I don't believe, shows a sign at that location.
Okay. If it was not permitted, I apologize. It must have been, it was unforeseen, but we can get that addressed.
Thank you. That had been my question. I think there were maybe some other both resident and board member questions. Phil, I see you have your hand up. Did you want to speak next?
Yeah, I just wanted to know when the annual meeting is and whether it's before our August meeting. And if that was the case, then if they, whoever might be elected as trustee would be able to attend. If it's after our August meeting, it may make sense to postpone until after the trustee is elected by the annual meeting of the owners. So I was just trying to find out if one of the residents who just spoke could let us know when the meeting is and if that's possible to get a trustee at our next meeting, or if we have to push it off.
It looks like Charlene wants to answer that question about the trustee meeting.
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
We have you, Giorgio. You cut out for a minute there, but I think you're back. And I'm sorry, Elijah, I didn't quite catch what you said.
Yeah, it looks like Charlene was going to answer the trustee meeting question.
Oh, that would be wonderful, Charlene, if you could.
Yeah, we received a letter from the management company that says it'll be August 9th. And as Sam had said, the main agenda for that would be to vote trustees representing the owners. So
thank you.
There should be in place then for the September meeting.
That's great.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
If I could just add the question about the sign permit, I did find a record of a sign permit that was taken out by Signorama in Walpole. So the same company that's proposing the new sign. And it appears that the permit went to the building department, not as a development identification sign, but as a wayfinding sign. And wayfinding signs are permitted in the underlying district. So that was permitted in November of 2020. And the building commissioner approved it without having it go to the planning board, I believe, because he considered it a wayfinding sign. The East Street sign, and I believe that sign as well, are really more properly described as development identification signs.
That was going to be my next question. Who makes that determination? It sounds like the building department.
Yes. So when the building commissioner gets an application for a sign, he determines whether it's appropriate in that district and whether it requires separate approval. Most signs throughout town only require a sign permit, they do not require planning board approval. You very rarely are asked to approve a sign. You did not approve any of the wall signs on any of these buildings. A development identification sign is a little bit different. It's specifically mentioned in the bylaw, only allowed in FMUOD districts, and it does require approval by the planning board. So I think this was a question of the building commissioner he has the final interpretation, and he considered that sign to be a wayfinding sign, and he approved it for a permit. When this later sign came in, he determined that that was a development identification sign and needed to come before the planning board. So why his interpretation was different on the two of them, I don't know, although it's 3 years ago that he looked at the first one. So I don't know if that's terribly helpful, but that's where things stand. So there was a building permit for the sign on Washington Street.
So do we as a board need to continue to consider that sign if it was determined to not be the type of sign that falls under our purview?
I guess in this case you don't, because the decision was made 3 years ago by the building commissioner. So I guess you're okay with that sign, but this later sign that's proposed for East Street, you absolutely would need to approve.
Understood. Thank you. And just for the folks watching, is there any recourse for any residents that potentially have issues or objections to the existing sign?
It's too late to challenge a decision that was made by a building official in 2020. But if there are concerns, they could address them with the property owner if they think that there's something inappropriate about that sign, or if the planning board members think there's some concern about that sign, they could address it with the property owner and perhaps make it a condition of any other sign that's approved at this site. So if you're looking to consider this East Street sign and you're inclined to approve some sign there, if not the proposed sign, but something different, you might make a condition of that approval, any changes you wish to see to the Washington Street sign. So if you have any reason that you're concerned about the Washington Street sign.
But Nora, if I could jump in, if that went through the proper process, doesn't that now mean it's going to end up realistically being the trustees, which would be newly elected, to determine whether or not they want to continue it or take it down, as compared to it falling within our purview?
So I'm not familiar with the condo documents and how they affect, if they affect the exterior of the property or if they're only the units. I think we could hear from the applicant on that. Remember, this is a commercial property as well, and the commercial sections of the property are leased. They are not owned by the tenants.
Right. Okay.
Thank you for that clarification. Yes, is that Giorgio?
Yes, sorry. So
no worries.
Hold on. Yeah. So just to clarify, the sign that's on Washington Street, that's in front of the Crown Cleaners. The sign that we're requesting is on East Street. That's with the condo association, is only pertaining to the building that I would say I call it the Muffin House is in. The sign that we're requesting really came in at an earlier time when, if as the board is aware, the retail on this is double-sided and the entrance is on East Street. So you have the Washington Street side and you have the back side of the market. So that's why that sign's coming into place. It came in really more for easing of people coming down East Street to take a right instead of going looping around. And a lot of tenants wanted that sign requested to put that signage in there for ease of parking to come in from the East Street side, not to loop around from Washington Street down. As regards to the trustees, I'm still in control of it, and I do have majority ownership of it even after we decide the trustees are take over. So I'm not sure legally. I didn't think we needed to be here. My attorney needs to be here for this, but I'm pretty sure I still control all of the outside of this property when it comes to any signage or anything, that aspect of it. Hopefully I cleared up some of the concerns. I didn't hear the concerns of the residents. I didn't get any calls or anything in my office regarding the signage, so I'm not sure what the concerns were. And again, I'm sorry I'm late to this meeting.
Thank you. I think if I can summarize, most of the concerns from residents were safety issues for visibility and, where the placement of the sign, the size of the sign, and difficulties it would cause with visibility. If I can, it was more detailed than that, but just kind of at a high level.
Okay. All right, I can address, what I can do is I can reach out to some of those residents and hopefully address all their issues. Again, I'm sorry, but I wasn't aware of any issues until tonight.
Thank you for making the effort to attend. We appreciate it.
Chair.
Yes.
I guess I just wanted to comment, just if we're really just looking at this one sign in terms of accepting or denying, we can continue if the board would like, but I just wanted to make my comment just to be transparent with the applicant, that regardless of how the trustee or owner kind of thing works out, my comment was just that based on the location of the sign, the size of the sign, and based on, you can see this aerial view of in March of this year, just the congestion of the traffic and the pattern of the traffic, it would be an impedance to multiple drivers or pedestrians. And, my suggestion to the board would be not to approve this sign, and just not to go into any further detail unless wanted, but that would be my suggestion.
Thank you. I do see there's something been entered in the Q&A. I'd like to add that. It's public comment from Aaron Foreman, 298 Washington Street, Unit 304, condo owner. I also oppose the sign as we see it on East Street. It is a very congested and busy corner. The cars come in and go quickly, and there are also deliveries being made. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Foreman. And I see other hands up. I'll start with board members. Josh?
Actually, Charlene has had her hand up for quite a while. I prefer public comment finish before I made any additional comments.
Perfect, thank you. Charlene, you would like to speak again?
No, I don't think you ever took it down. I had answered when the meeting we'll have for our trustees. So no further comments.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Josh, back to you.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate my position that I'd like to hear from the new trustees, although Mr. Petruzziello will maintain ultimate control of the exterior signage. I'd really like to get that feedback from them. So, I reiterate my stance of wanting to push this back till that meeting has occurred. And as a sort of question to Mr. Petruzziello, Elijah, if you could pull up that aerial view again. Would it be acceptable to you guys to meet the same intent if, although less desirable, less sort of visual impact passing cars, if it was on the more interior loop near that sort of mulched area on the north side of that? Yeah, exactly, in that mulched area. Or I guess even further in the bottom left-hand corner. So I think the bottom left-hand corner still impacts some of the aesthetic, I guess far left, Elijah, yeah. Still impacts some of the aesthetic concerns that some of the residents have expressed, but the safety concerns get sort of removed there. So I would say either one of those might be a better option to address some of the concerns we're hearing here. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Chris, you've had your hand up for a bit.
Thanks. Yeah, I was actually just going to suggest if we do wait till September, that's fine. But in the interim, if we could just explore alternatives. As I understood, I can't remember who it was, but someone said that the intent was to get cars on East Street to turn right into here instead of going up to Washington, taking the right and then looping all the way around. I see on this aerial picture, there's a small amount of sidewalk before the entrance, and there's some mulched area that looks like the same mulch. Is that owned by the applicant, or is that owned by that home in there? Yeah, that's where I was thinking. Or where Josh alluded to, closer to the building, which might not be helpful for wayfinding, but it certainly would, for any cars who pull in there, help identify, who is a tenant in the building. So those are just my two thoughts.
Thank you, Chris. Kate?
Thank you. I'm just going to reiterate my comment from earlier, Mr. Petruzzello. Thank you. I know it's tough to get to these things, so I appreciate you making the effort. Some of my concerns have been stated by others, but also that this sign does not look like the other sign. So it's not in keeping with the property signage, and I prefer the more subtle other sign. Blue might be great to go with your awnings, but it's not necessarily doesn't have the village feel throughout all of Islington. So so it's a lovely sign. I just don't think for this project it's the right one.
Thank you, Kate. And I guess I would, in the interest of transparency, I share the concerns about the placement and size of that sign, and I would not be inclined to approve it as designed where it is on the current plans. I'm happy to continue if that's what the majority of the board wants, but I would like to see a revision at the next meeting if that's what we're going to do. If we're going to continue it, I would like to see other placements and designs explored. Excuse me.
Are you looking for like a smaller sign as well, or just looking for it possibly in other areas?
Yes and yes.
All right.
And not blue.
All right.
That's just me. One person said that.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Were there any other comments from board members?
I think we should continue if Mr. Petruzzello thinks that would be valuable to get him on right now for September.
Yeah, I think we could continue it, and then I will circle back with my sign company.
Well, the annual meeting's on August 9th, which is before the 11th, if that's possible. I don't know. Otherwise, we are talking September.
We're pretty full in August.
Well,
Yeah,
we're
planning
full in
board meets
August.
on August 8th.
August 8th. Okay.
September is fine for us.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further input from staff? Okay. It sounds like it would be worthwhile to entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to the September meeting.
Sounds good.
Nora, are you frantically typing language for
I
that?
am.
All right, we'll give that a second then.
Just give me a second.
Great.
No worries, and thank you.
Come on, Elijah, where are you? Got big shoes to fill. Got to get those typing skills.
That is a fact.
You need Jeopardy music or something.
I know.
Sorry.
So
Wasn't ready for this.
stressful.
Not at all, Nora. We appreciate you doing this on the fly.
I guess in the meantime, just to review the agenda going forward, there is an EID approval review for 0 High Street, Cemetery Barn at 909 High Street. Following that would be the solar design review approval for the Westwood High School carport at 200 Nahatan Street. Following that, we have a public hearing for the wireless communication overlay district, environmental impact and design review for Dish Wireless within an existing stealth monopole at 808 High Street. And I think we have the motion.
Thank you. I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for a modification for the flexible multiple use overlay district FMUOD special permit approval to permit the 2 freestanding signs at 266 to 298 Washington Street to Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom, where a Zoom link and associated call-in numbers will be provided on town's calendar on the homepage at https://www.townhall.westwood.ma.us/.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, that motion had for evaluation of the 2 freestanding signs. I thought this application was actually for the 1.
The hearing was advertised to consider 2 freestanding signs. The board may choose to only approve one of them, but the hearing is advertised for 2. So to be continued for 2.
Thank you.
A second.
Excuse me. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Kate?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you, and we will see you in September.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is, sorry, I'm scrolling back, 0 High Street. That might be my favorite address to date. This is a public hearing, so I will open the hearing by reading the legal notice. The Westwood Planning Board will hold a remote public hearing on July 11th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom regarding an application filed by Christine Meany on behalf of Todd C. Sullivan Construction, LLC, for consideration of an EIDR pursuant to section 7.3 and 9.5 of the Westwood zoning bylaw for the purposes of building a 2-story, 58-foot by 32-foot shed for New Westwood Cemetery of the property at 0 High Street to replace the current cemetery shed at 909 High Street, Westwood, Mass. 02090, in accordance with PB-23-34. The existing cemetery shed will be demolished in a separate project as part of the planning board decision for 909 High Street, PB-22-64. The property is located in the Local Business A, LBA zoning district, and within Flexible Multiple Use Overlay District 7, FMUOD 7. Land affected, Assessors Map 20, Lot 72. Property owner, Town of Westwood. Okay. Do we have representatives for the applicant?
Hi, I'm Christine Meany, not Todd Sullivan, with Site Design Professionals. I'm here tonight to discuss the relocated / new cemetery maintenance shed. I will try to upload a plan. Can you see that? Oh, no.
No.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Just your files though, not any
Yeah.
documentation.
Not the plan.
Oh. I might need some help then.
It's
So if
just
you
the contents of your folder.
if you stop sharing and then click on the file that you want and then share again.
Okay, so click on the file I want.
Yep. While it's open.
Okay. I'm sorry. So do I open the file or do I hit share screen first?
Open the file. And then when you see kind of the page that you want us to see, click on it and then start sharing your screen.
Double click or?
Just one time, like just so the cursor knows what you're looking at. You're telling you're telling it what you want it to show.
Huh. It's not, I'm sorry, it's not working. I did upload this plan. I don't know if someone could help me. It's the color plan, grading and utilities. I apologize.
I'm taking a look.
We can blame Todd Sullivan, right, for why it didn't work.
I've only shared a plan once before, so.
Is it the site plans, page 1 through 6?
It's a colored plan. It's called color plan grading utilities.
Here I have it. I can pull it up.
Thank you.
One second. Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you so much. So the proposal is to build a 58 by 32 foot 3-bay garage, and it's going to be located to the north of the existing building at 911 to 917 High Street. The existing grade right now ranges from 96 along the edge of the driveway, upwards to about 205 at the rear of the property. So basically the first level with the garages will be accessible via a paved driveway, and then the rear of the building, you won't see the full 2 stories. It will be kind of embedded in the hill. So we are permitting this as an accessory structure because we meet the required setback from High Street. And it's less than 15 feet high per the building code. So we're about 6 feet off this property line between us and 911 to 917 High Street. This site was basically pre-approved by DPW. They like the location of this site for their new building. The building will reuse the existing gas trap from the old facility at 909 High Street for the floor drains inside the building. We'll be providing water service. There's an existing 2-inch service currently along the left side of the driveway, and sewer will be via a grinder pump. So it'll be coming out the easterly side of the building. We proposed an E1 or a similar grinder pump, and then it'll be a low flow force main to a manhole up at High Street, where we'll flow by gravity into the main in High Street. For stormwater management, we have proposed to recharge, it's an inch off the roof and an inch off the driveway, but the Voltaic system will only be receiving runoff from the roof. There's not a lot of room in this driveway to do stormwater management. So what we're proposing is to widen the westerly side of the existing driveway and build it's going to be an asphalt swale. So we're going to actually be paving around the existing beehive catch basin in the driveway. And this swale will direct stormwater runoff from both the new driveway and the cemetery driveway. I know currently water kind of ponds around this beehive, so the new grading and the swale should take care of that. And as far as treatment goes for the pavement, we'll be flowing our new pavement runoff into the existing deep sump catch basins. They're connected and they flow into a relatively new sediment forebay that was built along the edge of the cemetery pond, where we will get treatment through the catch basins and the sediment forebay. As far as I know, one of Beta's comments was the rear of the facility. Stormwater runoff does flow off, I believe, the rear roof of this building and the asphalt. Going out there, there really is no signs of erosion in this area behind the building. Due to the gravelly soils, it looks like any runoff is getting absorbed by the soil. There is a little bit of erosion down in this corner, I believe, because it's as Beta indicated, it's kind of missing this catch basin and heading down the slope. We did grade the back of the building to try to force the water around the rear and the sides. What we could do is maybe propose a small berm along the property line to keep stormwater runoff on 911 to 917 High Street and prevent it from getting on to this site. That's about it for the project. We do offer one parking space for the facility, but they can park in front of the garage bays, and that's suitable for DPW for the use of this building. I don't know if you want me to go through Beta's review comments. I know you just received their second letter today, and they've had a few outstanding issues. I don't know if you want me to go over that.
Yeah, if you'd like to, if the chair is open to that.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the first comment, SV1, was basically related to the runoff from the rear of the building at 911 to 917 High Street. Beta suggested analyzing the extent of the drainage. I don't know if that would be helpful. I think maybe just installing a small berm along the property line to keep their runoff on their own property might be a better solution. As I said, we are 6 feet off the property line, so there's not a lot of room back there, but between the gravelly soils absorbing the runoff and a small berm, that may be enough to take care of that issue. Another comment was regarding site distance. This area of the driveway isn't the primary entrance. And from what we've observed, most of the traffic is coming from the west and going east. So, you know, to the west of the building, we do have appropriate site distance. I believe, you know, for speeds of 15 miles an hour, you need 100 and let's see, you need 115 feet, and we have over 150 feet site distance looking west from the building. This corner has less site distance, and Beta suggested we may put up some like blind driveway signs or something just to warn people that there's a driveway coming up, which we're more than happy to do. But as I said, from what we've observed, mostly traffic is going from a west to east direction in this driveway. So site distance shouldn't be a problem. And it's you know, the same side of the driveway that the building's on. Let's see. Okay, resolved. Just one thing, DPW might have to contribute. This is in a Zone 2 Aquifer Protection District. So it is a reuse of the existing use that's currently also in an Aquifer Protection District, but the town bylaws, they just want a verification that there's no hazardous materials stored on site. So hopefully that's something that the Department of Public Works can verify. Okay. Beta was concerned, as I mentioned, stormwater management. We are not recharging any water off of the pavement right now due to site constraints between the existing grades of the cemetery driveway, the grades of our own driveway. Phosphorus removal typically is achieved through recharge. As I mentioned, we do have TSS removal achieved through the deep sump catch basins and the existing sediment forebay, of which there was extra capacity to handle this driveway. As far as phosphorus removal goes, we can look into some different technologies, you know, associated maybe with the existing catch basin right here. I know from some research that I've done, there is an insert, you know, I can discuss this with Beta, an insert that actually is said to remove 70% phosphorus. It's an insert you put in existing catch basin. It's made by Contech Engineered Solutions. You drop it in and maintenance is pretty simple. It's a garden hose. You clean off the filter and insert it back into the catch basin. So other than that, as I said, because we are in an aquifer protection district, there are some limitations as to what we can do with respect to groundwater recharge. So that's something we're going to have to look into. Let's see. Oh, the grass swale forebay, that's just this existing structure up here on the northwesterly section of our plan. That was installed by the town probably 10, 12 years ago. And I believe the engineering company that did the design gave us their calculations, and there was extra capacity in that sediment forebay to provide TSS removal for the extra pavement that we're installing. Staging areas, one thing we might suggest, you know, we're trying to limit the amount of tree clearing here, and given the, you know, the hill, we do have limited area to work. Maybe the possibility exists to temporarily close off this section of the driveway as long as we know there's no activities going on in the cemetery on days that larger construction activities will take place. Again, we can talk to DPW about that. As I said, this is more of a secondary driveway exit, so maybe that's a possibility. Other than that, due to the slope, we're trying not to take a lot of trees down to be cognizant of nearby, burial plots. Admittingly, there is not a lot of room for staging. But, again, maybe we can temporarily shut the driveway down when we have some major construction going on. That's basically it for the comments. Several of them were addressed. I don't know if you want me to go over the addressed comments, but yeah, so that's about it.
Thank you. Excuse me, I apologize. I'm a little gravelly this evening. At this point, I'd like to open it up to board questions and comments. I see Josh, you have your hand up.
Thank you. So I noticed, I guess first and foremost, do we know exactly what the intent of this structure is? To what kind of equipment is being stored here, or what staging is going to be done here?
It's going to be the exact same use as the existing maintenance structure at 909 High Street.
Which is what?
Lawnmowers, equipment to maintain the cemetery.
So oil containing devices and the like?
I don't believe so. I don't know what they store currently. Like I said, it's going to be the same use. I don't know how they refuel their lawnmowers. I'd have to talk to the DPW director to get, some more information on that.
Yeah, I think understand the proposed use, regardless of what it is currently. You already mentioned the confirmation of that there's no hazardous materials being stored here. And if, to your point, like they have lawnmowers and the like, it only makes sense that they would have fuel oils and the like in the same location, which are hazardous materials, especially near the aquifer. I also noticed on the plan that there are several floor drains proposed. Where would those go?
The current structure has a floor drains as well, and it's basically a dry well that's right here, and they pump it out.
I can't see where you're pointing.
I'm sorry, it's right in front of the building, in front of, it's right in front of the middle garage bay. It's a circular structure.
Okay. Yep.
And that'll just be relocated from the existing building. It's just a self-contained dry well.
Yeah, I have a bit of concern given what they're storing there and what those operations might look like if we're potentially just allowing fuels and oils to go right into a dry well in proximity to the wetlands. So.
Yeah, it's just it's a solid concrete structure, like a septic tank. It's pumped out. There's no leaching or anything.
And so that would mean it would be inspected, and that's not allowed to let that go down there anyways, right? Like it just seems like more of a risk than we need.
Well, again, I can get confirmation from DPW, but it's the same technology they're using now. I don't know, what they're doing now, but I can get some clarification on that.
Sure.
Thank you, Josh. Phil?
Just could you also ask, are they electric as compared to gas powered equipment? When you make that inquiry, because if that mitigates some of the concern, it would be, but I'm going to echo Josh's concern just a moment ago.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil. Other board members? Chris.
Yeah, I guess speaking on the same topic, can you answer how old is the building currently that's there?
2001 maybe, or 2009.
So it's 15 years old, give or take, for 14. And was there a DP? I mean, the cemetery's been there for quite some time. Was there always a storage facility in this location for DPW?
Not in this location, that's a new structure.
Okay. So since 2009, they've had a concrete dry well catching whatever it can catch going down the driveway?
No, there's a drainage system for the driveway. The dry well is connected to floor drains.
Oh, to the floor drains. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think a little more insight as to what goes in here would be helpful. Maybe even if Todd Korchin can't attend, maybe he can list items that are there. And to Phil's point, are they electric? Are they gas? Do we store oil here? Could we store it off-site, given how close it is to the wetlands area? So I think there are just some questions here that the board seems to have that maybe someone within DPW would be able to answer the specifics as to what goes on in this building.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Any other, excuse me, board members with questions or comments?
Mine have been covered. Thanks.
Sure. I just have a couple and I wrote them down. Excuse me. My first question is, are you going to Concom for a hearing, or is this just going to be an administrative approval?
No, we are actually filed to be heard on the 26th.
Okay. That is good to hear. I will reiterate what my colleagues have said about wanting a better understanding of what currently goes on. I know you said there won't be a change, but for me, the shed's going to be a lot closer to cemetery plots than it is now, and in a different part of the wetlands. If I'm reading the map right, the entire work area is within the 100-foot buffer zone. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I definitely have concerns about not just the work, but the ongoing operations there. I also will be looking for some of the resolution on some of the stormwater and drainage issues you've mentioned, not just because it's within the 100-foot buffer zone, but because this building will be in the cemetery. So for me, getting that stuff right is really imperative. And I guess the only other comment I would offer, you did mention some of the challenges, with staging and whatnot being near burial plots. I think it's really important to be respectful of those plots and of those who are interred there. So I appreciate you mentioning that, and I will be looking, excuse me, as we move forward to ensure that is addressed and recognized. So that's all I had.
That's why we shifted it so far to the east, just to stay as far away as possible.
Yeah, I think that's important. So I appreciate that. So that's all I had. And this is a public hearing. I guess before I go to public comment, Nora, it looks like Phil Paradis is here.
Yes, Phil he just received the response to his initial comments and put together a quick memo, but I'm sure he could speak to it in a little bit more detail.
And I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Phil, if you wanted to speak to any and all of the issues that have come up or anything else you'd like to share with us.
Sure. What was not discussed is the 5 waivers that they're asking for. Some of them are pretty standard, like a model and a traffic study for this type of situation. But I would recommend some additional information on the others, particularly stormwater runoff, especially if it's gonna go before conservation. The MS4 program is very intense for the watershed, the Neponset River and the Charles River watersheds. It does require 90% TSS removal for this type of situation and or recharge of 1 inch of runoff. The roof runoff is considered clean. We would, I think there are options that we can work offline to provide the required recharge and treatment for the pavement areas on the site. As was indicated, we noticed that there's potentially a significant amount of runoff from the adjacent site, which obviously doesn't impact the woods at this time, but could be a problem ongoing for the shed. So we would, I think just a little bit more information on that would be helpful. And I think the recommendations for the infiltration system will provide a significant number of conclusions to some of these comments. So, and then, you know, we're obviously going to defer to the zoning officer for the separation to the property line for the building. I think there just needs to be a confirmation of the hazardous waste that's going to be on site. The treatment in C6. There is no test pits. If the soil is as good as reported, then infiltration BMPs will be excellent for this work, and also provide some treatment of runoff prior to discharge to the wetlands. Right now, there is minimal treatment provided. We'll discuss offline. I didn't quite see the location of the grass swale. And the staging, you know, that looks like it's going to be tight. You know, we just want to make sure everybody's safe during construction, and you know, there's enough room to get the work done. So that's it.
Thank you, Phil. Based on those comments, are there any other questions or comments from board members at this time? Seeing none, and now I will open it up to public comment. If people would like to participate, feel free to raise your hand or enter your comments in the Q&A, and please remember to include your name and address. I am not seeing any efforts for public participation. So at this point, I would take a motion to continue the public hearing.
I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for environmental impact and design review EIDR approval for 0 High Street as described in the application, therefore submitted to the planning board and filed in the office of the town clerk on June 7th, 2023 to Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom, where a Zoom link and associated call-in numbers will be provided on town's calendar on the homepage at https://www.townhall.westwood.ma.us/.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? See none. I'll take a roll call vote. Josh?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you very much, and we will
Thank
see you next month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is 200 Nahatan Street. And this is also a public hearing. So I will, excuse me, open the hearing by reading the legal notice. The Westwood Planning Board will hold a remote public hearing on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom, regarding an application filed by Anthony Bouchard, I hope I said that right, on behalf of Amoresco, 200 Nahatan Street, Solar 2 LLC, requesting solar design review and approval pursuant to Section 7.7 of the Westwood zoning bylaw to permit the installation of 3 solar photovoltaic carports covering a portion of the rear parking lot at Westwood High School. The property is in the single residence C SRC zoning district. Land affected, Assessors Map 21, Lot 48, property owner, Town of Westwood. All right. Do we have folks representing the applicant?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Rob Bukowski from Weston Sampson representing Amoresco. On the Zoom call is Tony Busher from Amoresco, as well as my colleague Nick Granata. I'll give a quick overview if I can share my screen here. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the proposed project, Amoresco has an agreement with the town of Westwood to install these solar PV canopies or carports on the parking lot of the Westwood High School. This is a general site layout. We've done site survey, we've done underground utility survey, and we've worked with Amoresco and there are other vendors to develop the canopy layout here. So you can see there's 3 structures that are proposed on the carports. They do have some renderings I can share as well. I think those are included in the packets, but I can share those to give you a better idea of what these will look like once they're up. The foundations are still under final design, but typically they're about a 36-inch diameter concrete foundation that goes down anywhere from, say, 14 to 20 feet, depending on soil conditions. We did do a geotechnical investigation on the site several months ago. So we provided that information to the structural engineer, and they're finalizing the foundation designs. In addition to the carports, there is an extension of the existing asphalt walkway that's proposed that you can see. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it basically sort of goes east-west here, connects to the existing asphalt walk and over to the other side of the parking lot. For the most part, aside from the walkway and half of the foundations on this northern carport, everything is going to be done on the existing parking lot. So really no new disturbance. There will be some underground electrical trenching, as well as the underground installation of the foundations. There is a water management system proposed on these, so any stormwater, snow, ice, that type of stuff will be captured on top of these. It's basically a sort of a V-shape structure. So, you know, the middle portion is basically sort of the low point or the gutter. This slopes down to the middle, and this part slopes down to the middle. So everything is captured in the center. Water would be diverted down into the existing stormwater management system. There's really no increase in stormwater. Everything that flows onto the parking lot now would flow onto the canopies and end up in the same stormwater management system. The electric line ultimately will head back in towards the school. You can see the underground electric conduit here, and then heading into the main electrical room of the high school. So that's the ultimate tie-in point. So that's a quick overview of the project. Happy to answer any questions, and you know, can pull in Tony and Nick as needed to help answer questions as well.
Thank you very much. I'd like to open this up to, excuse me, to board comments and questions. Chris.
Forgive me if you said it and I missed it. Is there lighting underneath these?
Yeah, good. Excuse me, good question. There is lighting. So there's existing poles that are here. Those will be removed or, you know, demolished as part of the project, but there is lighting. In fact, there's a rendering I have. I just need to see if I can figure out I'm not used to Zoom. I'm used to Teams. I don't know if I can just swing a screen over, but let me try this. Can you see this, or is it still the plan?
I can
We
see
can
it.
see it.
We can
Okay.
see that.
So that gives you sort of a general idea of what the lighting would look like. These are renderings that Amoresco had prepared for the project. I know they were included in the packet. There's a link on the town's website to them, but at least this gives you a general idea of what the proposed lighting would look like.
And I know these are in place at a number of other municipal buildings, not in our town necessarily, but around the Commonwealth. Are they on timers like the older lights were on poles? How is it regulated or is it just on until dusk, until dawn? I mean,
You know, I don't know. Sorry, I'm a civil engineer, not electrical.
Okay.
So I don't know if Tony, if you're on and know the answer to that question. Otherwise, we can certainly follow up with you on that.
Just a question. We do have a call-in number. I'm not sure if Tony's calling in by phone, but I don't see him on the list.
Okay. I can.
I mean, I can address the ones that exist in other towns are on a dawn to dusk type system where they come on at dark and they go off in the morning when the lights come on. That can be adjusted. You can have them so that you can turn them off fully at certain periods of the evening. It all depends on what you wish, but there will be a control.
all right, that's good to hear. I just want the school to be comfortable that they have some control over what's going in there. Whatever they want, I wouldn't presume to know what policy they want to administer. What about snow removal? Is there any potential issue in New England with heavy snows? What it does to the parking spaces? It looks like giant umbrellas, but
Yeah.
beyond that, I don't know what it could do. What problems might arise?
So because these structures have that water management system, it's basically like a seal below these. So there'll be a piece of metal that goes underneath. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but sort of underneath where this goes, and then whether it's snow or rain or whatever falls, basically ends up going towards the middle into the gutter. So as snow accumulates, it'll slowly melt and then go through the gutter system and down. The height of these are typically proposed to allow snow plows to go under, although in this situation with the water management system, it shouldn't be needed. There shouldn't be snow except for in the aisles between the canopies.
Okay. And is there any loss of parking spaces in this
No.
configuration?
There's not. All the foundations are proposed, as you can see here on the actual striping. So they're, again, about final design to be determined, but typically 36 inches in diameter. So you're looking at whatever the width of the striping is, plus less 18 inches on either side.
And one last question. Sorry, this might be for Nora, just for institutional knowledge. If I remember right, this is fairly close to the wetlands. And I don't know if building up constitutes something different than parking lot and what we may have to observe there. I don't know, we might be far enough away that it's not even an issue. But I seem to remember it was close.
Yeah, I believe it's going to the conservation agent for review, whether it's going to be reviewed as an administrative project or if it'll require a request for determination. Tony might know.
So Nora, we did reach out and her recommendation was that we file a request for determination of applicability. So the wetland buffer zone is here, and you can see there's a portion of this proposed walkway that's in it, as well as a couple of foundations. There's one here that's sort of half on the asphalt, half off, and then another one here that's within the asphalt. So yeah, that's something that we plan to pursue within the next couple of weeks.
I would expect that there would be no concern about the structures themselves, and the drainage that's now coming onto the parking lot is going into the same place. I think that the request for determination would probably focus more on the asphalt path that's being added. And I don't think that'll be a negative concern to the Conservation Commission. So I think they will issue a negative request for determination and determine that they do not need a notice of intent, but that'll be up to the Conservation Commission to review.
Right.
I see Tony is on here now.
Yeah.
Tony, we had discussed some photographs you might be able to get of existing facilities. Were you able to do that to give the board a sense of, in addition to the display that was shown there of what it might look like? We want to be able to show you some existing facilities that are similar to this. So you can see that there, in addition to the structural supports, there are cables that are coming down the structure as well. Tony, I think you're muted.
I will pull them up and it'll take me a couple moments and then I'll raise my hand and you'll see when I have them up, if that works. I have to
You know, it might be helpful if I could give you a history of how we ended up with this particular placement on this end of the parking lot. We had to look at a whole series of things, one of which was not to interfere with Westwood Day, to allow a safe path on the right side of the parking lot so that during the summer camps, children will have an easy way to walk across. We at the other end kept it open. We originally had some of these canopies on the faculty parking lot portion. They were all moved down and it was arranged on the student parking lot so that on the graduation celebrations, there will be half the parking lot left wide open. And then that walkway that you see, that was put in as a place that if somebody, a disabled place where people who want to watch the field will now have a place that they can go concrete and sit and be sheltered by the canopies. So we had about 4 or 5 different entities giving us input and we tried to accommodate everybody.
Thank you. I'm looking to see if Tony has his hand up yet. I do not see Tony's hand up, so I'll continue. Chris, I'm sorry, did that address your questions?
Yeah, no, I'm all set. Thank you.
No worries. Phil.
Yeah, I many of my questions were answered by Chris, so I'll skip all those. The exterior lighting, can you give a little bit more detailed, not only on the timer, but how your exterior lighting is going to work? And then secondarily, I see in your renderings, you have the buses. Are they being moved there? Is that the anticipated plan that the buses are now going to be parked there where they don't park there at the moment?
I can probably answer the second one. No, I think that's just for purposes of scale.
Okay.
You know, the height, but I don't know the question about lighting. Sorry, Tony, I don't know if you know, or again, we can follow up with additional information on lighting if needed.
We have a preliminary fixture. We have a preliminary fixture for the lighting. I'll share that. I just made a note. I don't have it with me right now. It's a RAB fixture, LED, and it's it has a wrap on it. It's a vapor-proof lens on it. And Tom, thank you for jumping in for me. I was on my phone and I couldn't. But anyways, yes, to add what Tom said, it's going to be it'll be tied into the existing controls. So the existing controls will remain in effect. I'll get the light fixture. We have a preliminary fixture that I'll send. I'll share with you.
Okay, because I know when there's like rec or there's sports that are going on, there is some differing times during different parts as compared to but they can be manually adjusted to be consistent with what is already going to be used in the adjoining fields.
It stays in place. We just we tie into the existing circuit, and controls is what the intent is, if possible, or replace it with the in-kind controls.
Okay. And then my only other issue, which was touched upon which I think Nora answered, was with respect to, I noted that the additional wetlands and the extension of the walkway. So, but that was already addressed, so I'm good.
Phil, excuse me, Josh.
Love the project, love seeing the solar canopies. A couple questions on the far left of this plan. The limit of work extends pretty far over and actually closer than most of the other work in near the wetlands. The far left towards the bottom, keep going. There you go. The farthest left, so the limit of work extends all the way out into this other parking lot. I'm assuming that's trenching.
It actually, it's not. We try to be a little bit conservative, but maybe overly so. The only reason we included the limit of work out there was because we're proposing to put a silt sock in this catch basin. So it's solely to capture that catch basin, but the trenching will not extend that far out. It's limited. I mean, actually, you can see a run here. There's trenching here, and then trenching here, and then trenching here out to the backside of the high school.
Okay. That's important to know. I guess administratively, Nora, is this not considered a large scale solar array?
It is, and that's why it's before you. Yes, it's being,
that's the only reason.
Yes, it's being recommended for consideration as a solar design review approval project.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. That was it. Love that we're doing this. I think it's great. I'm glad you guys considered all the safety aspects of it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Tony, are you ready?
I'm going to try to share my screen here. I can do that. I can do it. Here we go. Share. Okay, so here's a few just to start off with. I apologize, I don't have more. I will get some more and send them along as either a zip file to follow up on this. Here's one example from Natick. This is the high school, and what you see here is the foundations. This is one canopy of, and this was installed 3 years ago. One of 3 or 4 canopies in this parking lot. You can see an inverter on one of the far columns. So this gives you an idea of how many inverters to expect. And then let me see, can we see any conduits here? Not a lot of conduits showing. You can see conduits coming down from the inverter through the foundation, and that goes underground to the electrical, to a combiner panel, and to an interconnection point. Let me see here. We have some other ones here. Apologize. Let me try to blow this up. There we go. Okay, this is from the other angle. Same inverter. You can see the electrical going down. This one's a little busy. I can show one from Wayland High School too. I think it's a little cleaner, but let me see. There's some more photos here. Yeah. Oh, there's 3. Here's one over here. I'm going to pull up some more photos from Wayland in case we have another couple minutes, and I can share those with you too. Sorry, I didn't have them together for this, but that's a great question. I should have had them together, and I'll share those by email as well with Nora. I have Nora's and Elijah. I have their email addresses for distribution to the planning board.
So would you expect there'd be 1 or 2 inverters per section, or how does that, was there one on every other pole? What's the anticipated number for this project?
Rob, do you have the inverters on the civil plan? If not, I'll pull up.
I do. There are 9 total. So
3 on each.
3
each
per
structure.
Per structure, exactly. Yep.
So just to give you a sense of what that would look like. So you would have the beams and the roof structure, and then you would have 3 inverters on each of the structures.
It looks to me like what they're proposing in Westwood is much bit longer than the ones in Natick that we just saw. Is that right?
They're a bit longer. I can't recall off the top of my head how long the Natick canopies are, but Westwood canopies are longer. We just looked at it the other day, Rob. I don't know if it was a couple days ago or last week.
They are a little bit longer. The Natick ones are pretty long, probably not as long. I think thinking back to Wayland, those ones are shorter. But yeah, I mean, the length is just a matter of, you know, how many more foundations and vertical posts go in.
And just out of curiosity, what is your best case scenario start date here? And how long is this project going to take to install?
Okay. Let's pull up the
Just
schedule.
ballpark. A month would be fine.
Here's a, can I share the schedule?
You should have
Please do.
capability.
In that, it's mainly, you're looking to have it done over the summer while the kids are away and have it all complete by the time they come back.
Okay.
There would be adjustments to that last 2 dates you see there most likely.
It seems ambitious. You still have to go to conservation, right? I applaud the ambition.
Right.
It just seems tight for a project like this. How long will it take to do this?
I have to update a couple of these dates based on recent update. We're going to move it up a couple weeks. Let's see here, which dates we're moving up here. 2024 construction NTP. We're looking at mid-June instead of July 1st. So that's major construction in the parking lot, and mechanical completion would be mid-July instead of August 30th. And substantial completion. So we're moving up these last three. These are just major milestones up a couple weeks. So as soon as we can get in the parking lot for the site prep, as soon as we're allowed to access the parking lot, install the temporary fencing, leave space for recreational access to the multipurpose field, and we'll provide a temporary construction fencing plan for review. That's one of the notes we have here.
So just to be clear, this is next summer, 2024. So to your point
Right.
about, conservation, we'll plan on getting their approval, hopefully, later
Misunderstood
summer,
that.
fall. Yeah, okay.
Again, now it makes sense.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
I saw 2023 on one of those dates, and I just
That would be
presumed it to be that those sorts. Yeah, that's why I was curious about going from 0 to 100 very quickly.
There's other permitting requirements affecting Eversource and connection requirements and things like that require that we would never make this summer.
Right. And Nora, there's no, this is strictly solar. This is not like a limited EIDR for most school projects.
No, this is not, it's just the solar approval. That's all that's
Okay.
needed. There's no other improvements. That sidewalk, I suppose, could be addressed as a limited EIDR approval, but it's just as easy to build that into this solar approval. There's not really even any landscaping. I imagine when they put in the asphalt walk, you may have to reseed some of the grass area around there, but that's
Right.
it. There's really nothing substantial here. No trees need to come down. No new trees are proposed.
And those planting islands are long ago removed. So,
They were removed, yes, without EIDR approval.
right. I'm all done. Thank you, and sorry for monopolizing so much time.
Oh, not at all. That was all very helpful. Thanks to all. Josh.
Yeah, one last 3 sets of questions. The signage, did the plan call up the signage that's required to identify 24-hour emergency contacts? Tom, you already alluded to the utility notification requirement that I didn't see in our packet, and the operation and maintenance plan.
So Josh, through the chair, so this was suggested as a, prior to building permit,
Okay.
Yeah.
As conditions, and Tony did show us a sample of the sign that they would be using. It hasn't been added to this packet yet, but it would be added as a condition of approval.
Great.
Thanks, Josh. Any other questions or comments from board members? I will just add that I am also very happy to see this project coming to fruition. Very glad that we are at the point that we are. And thank you to everyone involved for your continued efforts. And that's all I had to say. I will open it up to any staff comments or input at this point.
Just to add that I think this is a terrific thing. It's been a long time coming. Tom Philbin has been working on this for years to try and find a way to make this work. So terrific project. Can't wait to see it in place.
Thank you, Nora. Elijah?
No, I echo Nora's sentiments. I think it's a great project and definitely good for the high school and the town of Westwood.
And there'll be a lot of students thrilled to not have to clean the snow off their cars.
And selfishly, I'm excited about, having a shady place to go during Westwood Day. So there are a lot of benefits to this beyond that. I mean, the clean energy is absolutely, I'm thrilled about that, but there are some other, tangential benefits that I think people didn't consider when we first started talking about this. So kudos on that design. I'm grateful for all of that.
Ellen, can I just ask one other question? Is there any hope to bring it to the other, like the tennis court parking lot? Or the faculty?
We're looking
we have
at
two other parking lots.
Yeah, the Council on Aging, we have a plan. We're trying to finalize it. We're dealing with edgy economics, let's put it that way. So we have to look at a lot of different ways to do it so we make it economic and worthwhile doing. We're looking at a parking lot in the back of the police station, which is integrated with the, that's going to be, they're going to have 4 high speed, I guess is the best way to put it, chargers for their electric fleet, which are now 3. And that's going to take upping the transformers and everything on the station up to 480. So that impacts how we'll be doing all the construction if we did any solar garage in the back. So it's a complex series of things that I'm in the middle of, frankly.
Thank you for that update. I was actually just asking if there was consideration to bring this to the tennis court area parking lot by the high school.
The reason it's not there is that was where I got all my flack on people objecting to the aesthetics.
There's also the issue of
See from the street.
baseballs.
Yeah, well, it's not my feeling, but I mean,
yeah, there are more baseballs there than here.
I mean, to me, covering the school buses and preventing the snow from getting on top of the school buses would be a big asset. And also the capacity that we have. I think if we go any bigger, we have another question. We lose some. Tony can address this more carefully than I can, but we lose some incentive, and we have to make it much bigger to overcome the loss of incentive. So there's a complication having to do with the size. We're right on we're just small enough to get a max out on the incentive that we get.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? All right, well, this is yet another public hearing. So at this point, I will open it up to public comment if anyone would like to participate. Either raise your hand or enter in the Q&A with full name and address, please. Seeing no public comment, I guess it would be time to entertain a motion. Thank you, Nora.
So I move that the planning board grant solar design review approval for the proposed solar carports at 200 Nahatan Street as described in the application, therefore submitted to the planning board and filed in the office of the town clerk on June 16th, 2023, subject to the following conditions. 1, except as modified by the conditions and findings hereof, the project shall comply with the project plans in all respects, and the applicant shall pursue completion of the project with reasonable diligence and continuity. 2, if the project or any condition imposed in this decision requires any other permit, license, or other approval from any board or commission or any agency of the town of Westwood or other regulatory agency of the Commonwealth or the federal government, the applicant shall make an appropriate application for the same and shall obtain all required approvals prior to the start of any work. If any condition of such permit, license, or other approval from any other board, committee, or agency is inconsistent with this decision, the applicant shall make application to the planning board for an amendment of this decision, and the planning board shall consider such application in accordance with the requirements of MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, and all applicable planning board rules and regulations. 3. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant must submit an operations and maintenance plan, O&M plan, to be reviewed and approved by the town planner. 4, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant must submit a construction safety plan indicating the safe passage of persons to and from the multipurpose field. 5, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant must submit a signage plan, indicating 24-hour emergency contact information to be reviewed and approved by the town planner. 6, the applicant shall provide one original and one certified copy of an as-built site development plan. Certification shall be by a registered professional engineer and or land surveyor as required. The appurtenances have been constructed in accordance with said project plans and are accurately located as shown thereon. The as-built plan shall be delivered to the board in a format approved by the Information Systems Director for compatibility with the Town of Westwood GIS database. 7, applicant shall promptly repair any damage which applicant causes to sidewalks, street pavement, signs, or other fixtures or features within the public right-of-way after obtaining permission from the town. Such repairs shall be performed to Town of Westwood standards. 8, all project-related construction activities shall comply with the timeframe set forth in the town's general bylaws, Chapter 292, for noise and construction, which allow such work Monday through Saturday between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and Sunday between the hours of 12 noon and 7 p.m. 9, thank you. This EIDR approval shall lapse if a substantial use thereof or construction thereunder has not begun except for good cause within 2 years following the grant thereof. The planning board may extend such approval for good cause upon the written request of the applicant. In the case of the EIDR approval, the term substantial use thereof or construction thereunder shall mean the commencement and substantial progress of approved vertical constructional activity. 10, a copy of this decision and the project plans shall be kept on the project site at all times during construction. 11, any alterations, modifications, deletions, or amendments to the EIDR approval shall be done in accordance with the requirements of MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9. 12, applicant is responsible for obtaining any other required permits, including but not limited to conservation, electrical, and building permits.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sorry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Josh,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you all for your work on this.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you.
project. Thank you.
Motion to close the hearing?
Nope.
Right. That
Yes.
was the first public hearing.
I move that the planning board close the solar design review EIDR approval public hearing for the proposed solar carports at 200 Nahatan Street.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Josh, Chris,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you. I think that's the first hearing we've actually closed this evening. Thank you. All
Thank you,
right.
guys.
I'm a little fearful about August 8th.
Yes, you have a lot of items continued from the last meeting to August 8th as well.
That's going to be a long one. Excuse me. Next, item on
I'm
the
feeling
agenda-
sick for August 8th.
Josh, I think he gave it to me.
Next item on the agenda is 808 High Street. This is also a public hearing, so I will read the legal notice. The Westwood Planning Board will hold a remote public hearing on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom regarding an application filed by Ursula Davis, agent on behalf of Dish Wireless, requesting Wireless Communication Overlay District Environmental Impact and Design Review, WCOD-EIDR approval pursuant to section 7.3 and 9.4 of the Westwood zoning bylaw to permit the installation of three panel antennas and jumpers and 3 diplexers and 12 coax cables within an existing stealth monopole and to install associated equipment within an existing fenced wireless compound, including 1 metal platform, 1 ice bridge, 1 PPC cabinet, 1 equipment cabinet, 1 power conduit, 1 telco conduit, 1 telco fiber box, 1 GPS unit, 1 safety switch, 1 fiber NID, 1 200A meter with disconnect switch mounted to H-frame, 1 OVP, 6 RRUs, 3 diplexers, and 1 fence gate, all on the grounds of the First Baptist Church, 808 High Street, Westwood, Mass. The property is in the Single Residence C SRC zoning district and within the Wireless Communication Overlay District, WCOD. Land affected, Assessors Map 14, Lot 140, property owner, First Baptist Church of Westwood, leaseholder, Crown Castle. All right, do we have a representative for the applicant here to give us a presentation?
I believe E. Davis is the applicant.
We could bring Ms. Davis in, that would be great.
Elijah, can you do that? I don't have control. Adam, could you either bring E. Davis in or make me a co-host and I'll do it?
Looks like you're a co-host now, Nora.
Okay, thank you. E. Davis has declined to be promoted to a panelist. You'll need to be promoted in order to present your application. All right, you're muted. If you can unmute yourself and then present your application to the board, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Dish Wireless would like to install their antennas in a existing monopole that's stealth. It's a stealth monopole. It has 4 canisters inside the monopole, and they would be utilizing one of the canisters. And that's where their equipment would be housed. Their ground equipment will be in a leased area that Crown has with the Baptist Church. It has wood fencing around it, and all of the equipment will be within that compound. I can share my drawings if you would like.
Yes, please.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Let's see. I'm not sure how to share them. Let's see. Oh, here, share screen. Okay, are you able to see the drawings?
No.
No. You may need to stop the share, open up the actual drawing, and then click share screen.
Okay. Okay, are you able to see it now?
It's a blank screen right now.
Okay. Okay, how about now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, this is actually a photo of what the monopole looks like now. There's the wood fence around it. I don't know if you could see it. I could enlarge it a little. But they will have their equipment inside this monopole. And the ground equipment will be behind this wood fence. Okay. This is where the Crown Castle tower is located. Dish will be inside their compound. Okay, this is a drawing of their compound. Dish will be utilizing this particular part of the compound. T-Mobile and AT&T are already within this compound. Okay, this is a picture of the monopole. Dish would be the third canister down. So we will not, everything will be contained inside the stealth tower. So there won't be any change really to the compound or actually to the pole that would be visible. The equipment inside the leased area that's within the fenced-in leased area. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for that presentation. Yeah, if there are any board members that have questions or comments. Chris.
So Dish is new to this location, is that right?
Yes, they are.
And this will not alter any visuals in the compound whatsoever?
No.
So it's all
Everything
within
is-
the structure.
Yeah,
Right. I'm just confirming what I've been hearing. I read the plans and I heard her present. I just wanted to verify that I'm getting it. Okay, that's all I had.
Thanks, Chris. Josh?
Right, there we go. Couldn't unmute myself. I was just wondering if there was any emission report. I saw there was a coverage map, but especially given that there are other homes around, I'm assuming abutters might be interested in the type of RF emissions to the area.
Well, I don't believe there is an emissions report. Everything is contained inside the monopole. It's a stealth monopole. And
The emissions wouldn't be though. That's sort of the point of the pole, is that it emits the radio frequency from the cell phone emissions. So usually most vendors have provided an RF report associated with exposure limits, just like at the end of which document was that? I think it might have been the structural analysis. There's a number of signs that are associated with it that might have to be installed because of RF exposures. That's how you determine which signage to put up. So I was just wondering if they had provided any of that information.
I could check if they have
Okay.
an EME. Yeah, absolutely.
It may help adding a condition of approval being that they provide an RF report prior to the issuance of a building permit or any said permit.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Thanks, Josh. Kate?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Does this change the noise at the location at all? Additional
No.
equipment is no.
No, it wouldn't.
No fans need to run. No, nothing.
No, it wouldn't. No, it doesn't emit that much noise. I mean, it would be the same as what's currently there.
Okay.
I guess for clarification, this isn't replacing existing antennas within the monopole. It's new antennas within the monopole.
Yes,
correct?
It's new antennas. Yes, in a canister in the monopole.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? The only question I had, I guess it's kind of more for Elijah. I saw your comment about there was on one of the sheets on the site plan, there was a note that just said no scale and it really needed to be clarified. Did you want to speak to that?
I believe we revised the drawings May 23rd.
Elijah, are those to your satisfaction at this point?
Oh, sorry, I was muted, but yes, they did address that.
Excellent. I saw that in the staff comments, so I just wanted to make sure that we touched on that. Were there any other comments from staff? Okay, I will open it up to public comment now, as this is a public hearing. Please feel free to raise your hand or enter a comment or question in the Q&A. It doesn't look like we have anybody online. Seeing no public participation, I would entertain a motion at this point. If we wanted to add that condition that we just discussed, is that something the board would want to add as a condition that we receive that report that Josh was asking about?
Yeah, that seems reasonable to me.
Yes.
I
would agree with that also.
Yeah, as do I. So if we could add that condition in, I'm sure Nora's already on it.
Let me remove this.
It looks like Jessica has her hand up.
Oh, yes, thank you, Jess.
I'm sorry, I have a question as someone who works at the First Baptist Church at the Westwood Nursery School. I really thought that one of the directors from the nursery school would be there, but I'm not sure if they are. And the only questions we have are this: how long will this take? We do a live drop off, a live pickup. There's probably 70 young children at this church Monday through Friday. And there's been lots of trucks. I mean, I know it was the replacing of the tower. It was a very big construction thing. I'm just curious as to how long it will take and if they could remain out of the back parking lot at like between 9 at like from 8:45 to 9:15 and 12:45 to 1:15, because it's a little crazy back there, if that makes any sense. So I'm just curious as to how long the project takes and how much is involved in it. It's not just a pole, it's just an antenna. And I hope that's okay that I asked that question.
Did you leave your address?
Absolutely.
Oh, 23 East Avenue, Westwood.
I'll actually echo it because my wife actually works at the nursery
Yes,
school,
Mrs.
and
G,
I'm
yeah.
Phil Giordano, 20 French Street. So I'm going to echo the same thing as Jessica.
I
Was
believe
there a
it should only take about a week. I mean, I don't think it should take more than that.
So once and if it's approved, how long until you start construction? Like, will it be before September? Will it be?
Well, once it's
during the school year?
approved, we still need to get building permit. We need to receive a building permit. So, I mean, that could be a condition of the building permit that, you know, they can only do works during certain hours. I mean,
I don't think the hours are necessary. I just think that there's a lot of children around, like pickup and drop off times.
yeah.
You know, near 9 o'clock, near 1 o'clock, near 5 o'clock. That was my only concern. And I know that I've discussed it with the 2 directors there at the school. And as Phil said, Mrs. G too can. Thank you.
Is that within our purview to add as a condition to this approval, or would that be under the
I think
building
just
department?
knowing the one, I just think knowing the 1 week, it's great. Like we could work around 1 week, but with the poll, it seems to go on for a very long time. But this is just an antenna, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, this is just an antenna, and I could tell you they could come out there and, you know, they could probably install that within a day. You know, I'm
Great,
not a
thank you so much.
construction manager, so I
Right.
can't really speak to that.
No, that's okay. But I just wanted to get like if it was going to be a week, a month, or longer. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Excuse me. Then if the board is comfortable with the motion with the one condition that we added, I would entertain a motion.
Chair, there are several waivers that need to be approved by the board.
Thank you. All right, we should talk about the waivers first. So I would need a motion to grant the waivers that are being requested.
I move that the planning board grant the following waivers in association with the application for wireless communication overlay district environmental impact and design review, WCOD-EIDR approval for dish wireless co-location at 808 High Street as described in the application, therefore submitted to the planning board and filed in the office of the town clerk on June 16th, 2023. 1. Waiver from strict compliance with section 7.3.1.6 of the Westwood zoning bylaw requiring the submission of stormwater drainage runoff calculations. 2. Waiver from strict compliance with section 7.3.7.2 of the Westwood zoning bylaw requiring the submission of a photometric plan. Number 3, waiver from the strict compliance with section 7.3.7.3 of the Westwood zoning bylaw requiring the submission of a full traffic study to allow for acceptance the submitted summary traffic analysis. Number 4, waiver from the strict compliance with section 7.3.7.5 of the Westwood zoning bylaw requiring the submission of photographs. Number 5, waiver from the strict compliance with section 7.3.7.7 of the Westwood zoning bylaw requiring the submission of a presentation model.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on waivers? Seeing none, I will take a roll call vote. Josh?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So the waivers are granted. Now I will entertain a motion on, excuse me, the application. with the condition as discussed.
So before you read through that, if you want to just check condition number 3, which I added, to make sure that addresses the concerns that were discussed.
I think that's fair.
Thank you.
Should 3 nor be submit, who is the submission to in the first sentence? Shall submit confirmation, is it town planner?
To the town planner, yes.
Okay, that's the only addition I would say. Otherwise, I think it looks good.
I agree.
All right, I'll move that the planning board grant the requested environmental impact and design review WCOD-EIDR approval for Dish Wireless co-location at 808 High Street as described in the application, therefore submitted to the planning board and filed in the office of the town clerk on June 16th, 2023, subject to the following conditions. 1, except as modified by the conditions and findings hereof, the project shall comply with the project plans and with all prior approvals for this wireless communication facility in all respects, and the applicant shall pursue completion of the project with reasonable diligence and continuity. Number 2, if the project or any condition imposed in the decision requires permit, license, or other approval from any other board, committee, or agency of the town of Westwood, or other regulatory agency of the Commonwealth or the federal government, the applicant shall make an appropriate application for the same. If any condition of such permit, license, or other approval from any other board, committee, or agency is inconsistent with this decision, the applicant shall make application to the planning board for amendment of this decision, and the planning board shall consider such application in accordance with the requirements of MGL Chapter 40A, Subchapter 9, and all applicable planning board rules and regulations. Number 3, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall submit confirmation to the town planner that the wireless communication facility complies with all applicable federal and state standards, regulations, statutes, and other requirements. This shall include, if applicable, a written statement that the wireless communication facility is in compliance with or is exempt from applicable regulations administered by the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, Federal Communications Commission, FCC, Massachusetts Aeronautics Commission, and Massachusetts Department of Public Health. Number 4, all antennas and associated cables shall be installed with the existing 48-inch canister and shall not be visible from the exterior of the stealth monopole. All other equipment shall be installed within the fenced enclosure and shall not be visible above the 6.5-foot height of the existing fence. Number 5, all visible equipment, including ice bridge, mounting brackets, cables, bands, and cabinets shall be painted to match the matte color of the existing facility and shall be repainted as necessary to minimize any fading or discoloration. Number 6, the visual and aesthetic impact of all equipment, mounting brackets, and all other attachments shall be minimized to the fullest practical extent. All cables and bands shall be bundled in the most unobtrusive manner possible. Number 7, the applicant shall not post any signs for advertisement or any other reasons or on or in the vicinity of the project, with the exception of a sign not exceeding 4 square feet to display the name and telephone number of the person and company responsible for the maintenance of the project, and except as required per FCC and OSHA guidelines for radio frequency warning signs as noted on plan sheet C6. Number 8, the routine generator testing shall only occur between noon and 2 p.m. during the week. The routine testing is prohibited during the weekends. If more than one generator is employed at this facility, only one generator shall be tested at a time to limit the noise impact and shall be coordinated with all carriers. No 2 generators shall be tested at the same time. Number 9, the applicant shall verify through post-installation monitoring and report of an independent radio engineering consultant that the new and replacement antennas and remote radio heads will not interfere with nor have any negative effects on the town's emergency radio communications. Number 10, the planning board shall be notified within 30 days of any discontinuance of use of the wireless facility. All antennas, brackets, cabling, and other associated equipment shall be fully removed within 6 months of abandonment or discontinuance of use. Number 11, the WCOD-EIDR approval shall lapse if a substantial use thereof or construction thereunder has not begun except for good cause within 2 years following the grant thereof. the planning board may extend such approval for good cause upon the written request of the applicant. In the case of the EIDR approval, the term substantial use thereof or construction thereunder shall mean the commencement of substantial progress of approved vertical construction activity. Number 12, a copy of this decision and project plan shall be kept on the project site at all times during construction.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Next, we need a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that the planning board close the environmental impact and design review WCOD-EIDR approval public hearing for the proposed dish wireless co-location at 808 High Street.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Josh,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. All
Thank you.
right. Our next agenda item is 60 to 90 Glacier Drive, which is also a public hearing, so I will read the notice. Excuse me. The Westwood Planning Board will hold a remote public hearing on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom regarding an application filed by Elizabeth Jameson on behalf of SBA Towers 2 LLC, requesting wireless communication overlay district WCOD special permit approval pursuant to sections 7.3, 9.4, and 10.3 of the Westwood zoning bylaw to permit the installation of 3 panel antennas and jumpers, 1 antenna flush mount, 3 diplexers, 3 bias tees, 12 coax cables, and 12 coax clamps with an expanded section of an existing stealth monopole with a new 36-inch diameter canister added to a 10-foot long portion of the existing 30-inch diameter monopole, and to install associated equipment within an existing fenced wireless compound, including 1 ice bridge, 1 PPC cabinet, 1 equipment cabinet, 1 power conduit, 1 telco conduit, 1 telco fiber box, 1 GPS unit, 1 fiber NID, 6 RRUs, 3 diplexers, and 3 bias tees at 60 to 90 Glacier Drive, Westwood, Mass. The property is in the Highway Business HB zoning district within Flexible Multiple Use Overlay District 3, FMUOD 3, and within the Wireless Communication Overlay District, WCOD. Land affected, Assessors Map 23, Lot 231, property owner Glacier LLC, leaseholder SBA Towers 2 LLC. All right. Do we have anyone representing the applicant here?
Doesn't look like we do.
No, it does not.
So I have to say, this is an application where there have been requests for information from the applicant, and those requests have gone unanswered. The application was posted for a legal notice. The date of the hearing and a link to the Zoom meeting were posted in the application in the application portal, and the applicant did not respond to that either. So I would recommend that the board deny the application tonight on the grounds that, one, there's concern that the proposed bump out would defeat the stealth nature of the existing monopole, and 2, the applicant failed to answer questions or even show up for the hearing to discuss it. You could deny it while also continuing the hearing to a later meeting. I'd suggest your September meeting to allow the applicant to address those concerns without having to file a new application or post a new hearing notice. But if they fail to comply, then at the next meeting, you could then close the hearing, having already denied the permit.
That seems logical.
If that sounds reasonable to me, any other comments from my colleagues?
So we just continue it then? No,
you would first vote to deny, so that the problem with the wireless communications, there's a shot clock that applies. So you only have a certain amount of time to handle the application, which is why we put it forward even though there were still outstanding questions, and the applicant simply wasn't responding to the request for answers.
Okay, so I move that the planning board deny the requested environmental impact and design review WCOD-EIDR approval for Dish Wireless co-location at 60 to 90 Glacier Drive, as described in the application, therefore submitted to the planning board and filed in the office of the town clerk on June 27th, 2023, due to concerns that the proposed installation would negatively affect the stealth nature of the existing monopole and due to the applicant's failure to provide requested information and appear at the public hearing.
Second.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will take a roll call vote. Kate?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. I'll take a motion for continuance.
I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for wireless communication overlay district environmental impact and design review WCOD-EIDR approval for Dish Wireless co-location at 60 to 90 Glacier Drive, as described in the application, therefore submitted to the planning board and filed in the office of the town clerk on June 27th, 2023 to Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom, where a Zoom link and associated call-in numbers will be provided on the town's calendar on the homepage at https://www.townhall.westwood.ma.us/.
Second.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. All right.
Great, so Elijah can just make comments in the application, letting the applicant know that this has been denied, upload a decision denying it, but also let them know that the board will reconsider on September 12th if they answer the questions and provide reasonable information that would allow you to approve the project.
Thank you. And will we need to sign that decision?
No, it's not a special permit, it's an EIDR, so Elijah can sign that.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. The next item on our agenda is the continuation of the public hearing for consideration of amendments to various planning board rules and regulations. And we started that conversation on June 6th, or the last time we
Yes.
discussed it was June 6th. So I do not need to read the notice.
No, so I, on June 6th, had reviewed most of the documents that I had proposed. I asked for planning board members to take a look at them in detail and let me know if they have any comments. I know your agenda's been really full the last few months and you probably haven't had a chance to go through all those very verbose rules and regulations. So I'm recommending you give yourself a little more time and simply continue this hearing till September 12th.
I'm on board with that because I will admit with all the other materials we've had to review, I've not been able to give these materials the attention they deserve.
Nor
Understood.
unfortunately, you end up at the bottom of the line, at the back of the line. Sorry about that.
That's okay. The other things are all more important. The main reason for these updates to the rules and regulations is to get rid of the paper copies. That's the real reason, and then to adjust some fees. So review them at your leisure, and if you can continue it till September, I'm happy to answer any questions about any comments that you have at that point.
Okay, so
Kate, Chris, and I all read everything, so we know everything. But given the rest of the board,
And you've got detailed comments right now.
yeah, we'll give
right,
you some
Josh?
time.
We'll give you some time to consider.
I need time.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for that indulgence. We appreciate it.
So I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for consideration of amendments to various planning board rules and regulations as it pertains to environmental impact and design review, special permit granting authority, University Avenue mixed use district, scenic roads, governing of the subdivision of land, earth material movement approval, solar design review approval, and the access approval overlay district to Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom, where a Zoom link and associated call-in numbers will be provided on the town's calendar on the homepage at https://www.townhall.westwood.ma.us/.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will take a roll call vote. Phil?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. All right. Next agenda item is review of draft meeting minutes from June 20th, 2023. Did everyone have a chance to look at the minutes? Does anyone have any additions, comments?
I had one question. A gentleman was there for the Washington Street. Is his name Bettercourt or Bettencourt?
I think it was
This is-
Bettencourt.
That's what I thought. It's spelled better in there.
Did I spell it wrong
Yes,
each
did I?
time?
Each time, I believe, yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, it doesn't change the substance of what was
No,
written.
but I can, well, I want to make sure I even did it correct tonight. So what is the correct spelling of his name?
I think it's
As I understand it, Bettencourt.
Yes.
It appears to be spelled Better.
It's probably when I was looking on the Zoom and it looks like an R, but it's probably an N. My eyes are going.
It might be Bettercourt. I don't know.
I know. Yeah.
But I thought I heard him introduce him as
You're probably right.
Bettencourt.
I can look in the.
Again, it's a really minor point. I'm sorry I brought it up.
No, but it should be fixed.
Yeah, I had no edits.
It is Betten. I'm looking in my email. Joseph M. Bettencourt.
Okay, thank you, Nora.
I have no edits.
Then I would take a motion to accept the minutes with the amendments / corrections
Correct.
as discussed.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, roll call vote. Phil,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. All right. Our next agenda item, updates from agency and committee representatives. Has anyone been to any meetings that they would like to share?
The Ped Bike Committee keeps getting invited to things that conflict with planning board. It's very annoying.
Wait, the Ped Bike Committee is holding meetings in conflict with?
No, they're invited to meetings which happen to be in conflict with our meetings.
Oh.
Like the Canton Street sidewalk
Yeah.
meeting.
That's really
not to-
Unrelated, the select board meeting tomorrow? Is that correct?
That's correct. Tomorrow
Tomorrow.
night, you're meeting jointly with the select board. You're the first item on the agenda, I believe.
Any guesstimate as to how long that might be? I'm gonna be down the Cape and it's my anniversary, so I'm hoping not to be too long.
Come on.
Otherwise, I'm gonna
Phil.
have I'm just gonna tell my darling spouse, we're not gonna have dinner yet. Sorry.
Keep rattling off excuses till you
I'm
find a
coming
good
up with them.
So I can tell you it's scheduled for 15 minutes. You're on at 6:05
min-
and there's a public hearing at 6:20. So the intention is for it to be a quick discussion.
Okay, there we go. I think I'll be good.
That is
Unless
helpful.
Given
you
the
arrive tardy.
Given the content and some of the anxiety around that, maybe are we gonna push to include anything in the fall meeting, a special meeting or anything?
So if there is a fall meeting, that's an option. I don't think there's going to be. I don't know
Yeah.
yet if there's going to be a fall town meeting. But I think that if you were to propose an expansion of the Mumford zone for the Springtown meeting, you would have enough time to meet the state's requirements. But we shouldn't discuss any detailed information about that until tomorrow night.
Yep. For sure.
Yep.
Chris, not to put you on the spot, but anything interesting from long-range financial planning?
I had a meeting this morning, and most of what was discussed was the school. Thurston is basically capital. Thurston has some issues that need to be addressed. I think she announced we're be looking somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 million in need for a new roof, and that's really it. Facility reimagination working group that I'm a part of, we had to cancel the one meeting we had scheduled from our last meeting till now, so we have not met. The other working group meeting did meet regarding the I'm missing what's the please help me with what they're there to discuss. Nora, please, you were there this morning.
I can't recall what the other.
Oh my gosh, the
subcommittee is.
availability of funds. It's an acronym.
CPA. CPA.
Thank you. My wife's a CPA. I should have thought of that. So they're just continuing to pursue that, and they're thinking about using the Hale Reservation situation as an anchor project, although the timing of that doesn't look great. There is a very strict protocol as to how a community can adopt the CPA, and it doesn't jive with what Hale is looking to do, at least not right now. If things change, then it might. So they're still doing some exploration there as to whether or not it can happen, but it
Just
needs
to clarify,
to go.
Community Preservation Act. That's what
Thank
CPA
you.
is.
Yeah,
For anyone who
not
doesn't know.
certified public accountants. So I think, Nora, correct me if I'm wrong, it would have to go to town meeting to be adopted, and then have to go to an election
Ballot
period.
vote. Yes.
A
there'll be
ballot vote,
ballot
right?
vote.
And then back to town meeting for adoption of a project, right? Or
Yes.
voting.
Yeah, so you adopt the act, town meeting adopts the act, then voters have to support the adoption of the act. If that goes through, then there would be an appointment of a CPA committee. And then that committee would adopt projects it wished to fund, and then that committee would go to town meeting with a proposal to actually fund the projects. So it's a multi-year process.
Yeah, especially with no fall town meeting expected this year.
Yeah, we don't know yet. We'll know by September 15th if there'll be a fall town meeting.
And it has passed at town meeting and then failed at the ballot, right? In our history.
Yes, the first time it was brought up, it passed town meeting but failed at the election.
What's the threshold for it to pass?
I don't know. Is it just a
Yeah,
majority?
I don't know.
Is it a majority?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good question. So that's the update for long range financial planning.
Thank you. That's didn't mean to put you on the spot, but there's interesting discussions going on there. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's still a little in the infancy right now for obviously both working groups, but they're meeting. That's better than what's been happening over the last 3 or 4 years. So
I'm glad to hear the conversations are happening. That's great.
Yeah.
Very glad that committee is revived.
Aligned with Saving Hale or contributions to Hale, there might be a large pharmaceutical company that might be interested in supporting that effort that is local. Just saying.
Glad to hear that.
That would be
put
great.
them in the direction of the select board,
There you go.
or at least Chris Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
Being discussed.
Any other agency or committee reports from anybody? Or interesting tidbits?
I had a question that might be under administrative items, and I guess it would be for Nora and Elijah. We recently tried, we're streamlining the earth material movement, and I love that. And I just, on both wireless communication hearings tonight, just the request for waivers that really have absolutely nothing to do with this, and it just seems really onerous to go through this every single time. Is this really necessary?
I'm trying to address that in our regulations for what the requirements are for wireless communication as opposed to just EIDR. We're separating it out as a separate approval, just like you had on tonight, the solar design review approval, which is
Right.
not EIDR, it's its own entity. We're making earth material movement its own entity, and I'm trying to do something very similar with wireless communication overlay districts so that you don't have to have all those waivers. So I'm working on trying
Thank
to package it in the regulations, and we may need to have then a new zoning amendment when we go to the next town meeting that just clarifies that within the bylaw.
And would it be wrong to just ask that there never be a presentational model in required demanded?
I think
Okay, so
we should
that's
agree to
Do we
that.
flip that? Do we
That you
flip
did
that
that.
around?
You did
Okay,
that at the
all right.
last, that was part of your sustainability article where you made
I
the
knew I had heard that
presentation
somewhere.
model something that you asked for, not something
Right,
that's required.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought that
I've
was a
only
good
seen
idea.
one, like in all the years that I've been paying attention or involved, I only remember seeing one presentation model.
Yeah.
We didn't even have one for University Station.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Islington was the only project
Islington
that
was
I
it.
recall.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah,
the
with
architect said, I
current-
don't do these.
Yeah. With 3D renderings we have now and modeling on computers, it's just, I don't know, it's a little outdated.
Listen, guys, Phil needs to get ready for his anniversary. So let's wrap it up.
I have an hour and 42 minutes.
I know you are not ready. You are not ready.
I am not ready. There you go.
Oh, actually, this and stop me if I should mention this. Other agency report or committees. I did attend the Concom meeting, the last one, and where they were discussing a project that we also are discussing, and they talked about doing a site visit. And I thought that would
Yes.
be of interest for us as well. And even though that particular project is not on our agenda, I raise it because it make sense to coordinate doing something with the Concom so that we're all there together, and it's probably easier for the applicant at that point as well.
Yes, so
I did talk
Elijah,
to,
go ahead.
yeah, so I talked to Karen. She had proposed some dates to have a joint, site walk either next Tuesday, July 18th, or the following Tuesday, July 25th, around 5 or 6 p.m. if that's possible for the board.
So it's probably best to coordinate that by email rather than discuss it at this meeting.
Right. That's, I wasn't sure if, I just figured while we were all together, because I don't know that waiting till after our next board meetings made sense. So thank you. That was all I had. So if nobody else has anything, I would take a motion to
I
adjourn.
think Kate has a motion to conclude.
Oh my
Start
God,
all
I'm
over.
so tired, you guys. I'm so tired. I'm sorry. Motion to close the meeting.
Second.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on adjournment? Seeing none, I will take a roll call vote. Kate,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Soon.
Good night.
Six
See you
o'clock.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.